All right, so here we are with an actual episode 313. Our savvy podcast listeners will acknowledge that episode 3012 came out before episode 3011. So
3000.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
Only because
we missed a few episodes.
Yeah, the idiot that takes care of the files, he's a total schmuck. Somehow just jumped over one of the files.
I know, it's weird.
I called him.
Doesn't describe it. Schmuck doesn't describe it.
I know, he's a cocksucker, but I called him and he said, nope, I have it. It'll go up tomorrow. So he's going to handle that shit tomorrow. Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
So everyone enjoy. So I would like to give everybody out there in podcast land the weather report. It was showing 18 degrizzles Frankenstein on my device when I was coming home from work today.
Dude, it was cold. I had to get out of my work because I hate my work. And I went to this park that I go to eat lunch just to escape the desolate nastiness that is my job. And I got out of the car because I was like, you know what? It's right by Lake area. It's in East Lake over there somewhere, whatever. And I went out and I got out of the car, and it took me about 37 seconds to realize that it was like negative 4,000.
You made a big mistake getting out of the car.
It was at this point that Cinch realized ye fucked up.
I did. My hands, literally within 10 seconds, my hands were so cold I almost didn't make it back to the car before they were like fucking. I couldn't even move them. It's cold outside today, man.
You guys are a bunch of pussies.
I know, we're terrible.
Jesus Christ!
Did you even leave the house today, Chris?
Not only that, but I was walking around downtown Cleveland, and I left my gloves in the car. I'm fine. Jesus Christ!
Survived.
Yeah,
Define fine.
The burning garbage and bums, keep you warm.
Yesterday, when it was 28 degrees or 27 degrees, I had a customer's Zero that we were doing some diagnostic on. And here's an interesting thing. The bike came in and, of course, as you do, you throw it on the charger to make sure everything's charged up. Well, it turns out that when Zeros get above 90%, they slow the charge rate down. If you've got a charge tank on your bike that would normally charge at 6 kilowatts, when you are over 90%, they'll slow that down to 3 kilowatts to ease the stress on the batteries. It's science. I don't understand, but it's a thing. And so this customer had, taken his Zero before the warranty had expired and removed the charging pack. So he'd removed the onboard charger that comes with the bike from the factory, replacing it with 3 DigiNow chargers, right? So 3 additional chargers there. And which, of course, here's my rule. If you bought a motorcycle and it's new enough to have a warranty and you do something to circumvent that warranty, wow, you're braver than I am, man. Especially a, $18,000 motorcycle. And so what he did was he did go outside of it. He did something that would sort of render the warranty on his charging system useless. And he brought the bike into the shop, and his complaint was, now we didn't know about this whole pushing the charge down. We didn't know about that. We just figured 6 kilowatts. It's going to charge at 6 kilowatts anytime you plug it in. So he complained. He's like, yeah, something's wrong with my bike. When I was at work, the breaker tripped on our charger by the shop. And then when I went back and threw the breaker on, it was only charging at 3 kilowatts. Well, I think he was over 90%. I think he was like 93 or 94%. And so the bike was doing exactly what the bike is supposed to do. The downside was he knew that he'd paid for 6 kilowatt charging and he wasn't getting 6 kilowatts of charging. So we had the bike here at the shop, but it was like 93 or 94%. So I had to go out and reduce the amount of power in the battery. And that's not just like you can open a valve and pour electrons out on the floor of the garage. You can't just stick a tube in the battery and drain power out.
Just stick a screwdriver across the positive and negative terminal.
There you go. That'll drain the power pretty quickly. So don't do that. So I had to bundle up and I took the bike out for a ride. And this was one of those times you're like, I never wanted a battery state of charge to go down faster than I did yesterday when I was riding this bike around for 45 minutes as I was trying to get the battery to go soft on us. And I rode it too freaking far in those temperatures. And my dumbass didn't put thermal, I was just wearing my regular pants. I was wearing my regular, Duluth, they're thick, but they're not lined or anything. I froze my fucking ass off. I was out for about 45 minutes to an hour, and I was miserable by the time I came back.
Someday building a treadmill should be a project. You know what I mean? So you can
motorcycle treadmill.
Well, I mean, like if you're testing a bike and you just want to put it on the treadmill and run through the gears, or
that's what a dyno. I mean, that's essentially what we would be using a dyno for if we had one.
Well,
if
we're going
a dyno.
cheap.
I'd strap that thing to it.
Yeah,
Nick's got a fancy
Think of like
catwalker.
a giant cat wheel.
That's what Nick's got. Nick built a catwalker.
Yeah, the one for a motorcycle.
Right. Just put a 0 in it and spin it. So that's cool. So Nick, did you get your goal of getting enough watches on your YouTube channel to get yourself partner status?
No, not yet. Not yet. I still have about 200 watch hours to go.
Jesus Christ. I had both of my devices going on your channel running it. Like the whole bandwidth.
Well, you know what? I think it takes a couple days for it to really update so I don't really know. It might be a little bit closer than that, but who knows?
Nick's channel.
Yeah, I ran through the whole collection too.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
And it's a really fun channel too, especially with the RC car stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, that stuff's loads of fun. So Nick, tell the general populace about, Nick Makes and Breaks Things.
Yeah. That's my channel name. It's Nick Makes and Breaks Stuff. So I have a lot of hobbies, and it ranges from like radio control cars to obviously motorcycles and just taking stuff apart in general. And there's some random, cat content as well and stuff like that. But I have fun making those videos.
I like the way it goes from cat accessories to Arduino powered robots and resurrecting Goodwill or thrift store RC cars.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's really cool.
Let me give you some insight into YouTube. So recently, obviously we started a YouTube channel with Phil doing Motor Stories with Uncle Phil. And so I actually looked into, because I know the content's good enough. I know it needs to just get out there. I actually looked into a couple places to try to promote it and pay for some promotion and get it out there. And so I hit up this one company that's a pretty big promotion thing. And they're supposed to look at your channel. They're supposed to give you this whole report and tell you what you need to change, your titles changed, your artwork, and all this different stuff to try to get whatever. So I sent the thing. It's $100 to have this whole thing done, and they're supposed to whatever. The dude wrote me back and said, "No, you did everything I was going to tell you to do. You just have to wait."
Oh shit!
So I was like, "So YouTube is just weird." So like,
just chill the fuck out, man.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Did he charge you for that?
No, he told me, he goes, "I can't do anything for you." Like basically, like they want you to have a unified theme. They want you to have like all your thumbnails be good, but also the same. Your content has to be good and clear and nice. You want to have the same intro and all this stuff. So I sent him the channel. We have 19 or 20 videos up now. He was like, "Yeah, I can't tell you to change anything. It'll catch on. It'll just take time." I was like, "Okay then." And he was like, "Sorry, I couldn't take your money." And I'm like, "That's cool, because I really don't have any anyway, so we're good." So it's weird. I did the same. So at my job, we have a pretty good internet connection. So I have 11 YouTube accounts from all the years. So I opened 11 windows with 11 different YouTube things, and I ran all of your videos.
Nice.
And I also do guitars too. So right now at my work, it's running the Moto Stories videos over and over right now, getting likes or views or hours or whatever the fuck we need to get.
The things, yeah. We need the YouTube
things. Yeah.
We need a Chinese data farm where they just sit there and mine for like half cent on the dollar Bitcoin and stuff like that.
That shit hurts you. So like originally when we started the channel, I did a thing. It was free, and so I was like, okay, I'll do this free thing, and like we got like 1,000 views, but it was all from Venezuela. And so like when you go to your analytics, YouTube's not stupid. They're like, "Oh, you guys had like up until today, you had 99.4% of your traffic from the US. And then today we had 7,000 hits from Venezuela."
Yeah.
Well, that could be me, because I run a VPN. I'm sure it wasn't all me, but I run a VPN, and I can set it to come out of any server in like 60 different countries.
Oh no, dude, the analytics were like the pie shape of where your views came from were all US and like a sliver of other. And then like the day after I did the free thing, it was like a giant pie, and US was like a tiny sliver. Other was even smaller. And then Venezuela was the whole rest of it.
Nice. Oh, that's
We took off in Venezuela. I mean, what the heck? It could happen.
Hey.
Well, I mean, honestly, a lot of people already knew a Phil there, so it was fucking great. A lot of ladies, a lot of big boobs sent it in pictures. I didn't know if I forwarded them to you or not, but there was a lot of that too. So
I got those.
Can you pull them up? Can you pull them up right now?
sure.
John Leote sent us a message on Patreon. He says, you guys, we love you, but you're beating the Janus joke to death. Let it die.
Aw.
There wasn't one Janus joke in the last podcast.
I think the last two podcasts.
Yeah, there was very little Janus.
I know.
And quite frankly, after you said not to do Janus jokes, I wanted to do more Janus jokes, but I capitulated. That's the spirit of it. Somebody complains, that's what we do more of.
Right.
Exactly.
I kind of forgot about it until he mentioned it. Now we got to break him out.
Now we got to bust out some more Janus jokes. Yeah, of course.
But they have to be new and original, not this old shit.
Right.
Well, that's what I did find out. That is now in China, they can test you for COVID through your Janus.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
There's nothing like a fresh new Janus.
Well, they just come up and sniff the seat. They know exactly what's
They know
going on.
exactly. They know exactly. So have you guguys heard
Never
this?
let your Janus rest.
There's a thing called Rapify, and what Rapify does is Rapify basically, if you're an Uber or a Lyfter or one of those people that drives your car a whole lot and you're out on the road, instead of driving around a normal car, they will take your car from you and wrap it in their corporate sponsorship. And then it's people that pay them money to have their products represented by your car. And you actually then will get some money from having the company's name on your car.
$400 a month.
Right. So this is what's kind of interesting, because you guys remember a movie Idiocracy,
Yeah.
where people's clothing all looked like NASCAR sponsorship? We have achieved that now, where people are voluntarily giving up their car that they drive every day to go get groceries and whatever to be sponsored. Now, the thing about this is, like, this is open. I mean, I looked into this, and you as a company, you can pay a certain amount of money to have a car or many cars wrapped with your logo on it in different levels of wrapping, like different levels of commitment. And then there's a program that works with your smart device that Bluetooth detects not just when your car is moving around, but when you are in your car moving it around. So, like, in order to get paid, you've got to be driving your car around. You can't just put this wrap system on the taxi cab that you don't own, right?
There was a story at one point about a guy who put his forehead up on eBay and was trying to auction off his forehead to have anything that you wanted tattooed on it, and he would be a walking tattooed billboard.
Well, yeah, and that worked. There was during the fights, the Golden Sands or Golden something, like one of the shady Las Vegas companies. They paid a dude, and they did it. He paid like $40,000 to have their logo tattooed on his forehead.
Wow. And Steve, it was Cinch. It was so successful that you can't remember the name of the company or the fight.
I just said what it was. It was whatever I just said. But yeah, I don't.
And the other thing too is, I mean, you just can't do that to anybody. It would have to be somebody that people are looking at. You couldn't do it on a guy who doesn't leave the freaking house. I
think our best bet would be Nick, because he's got a YouTube channel and he's almost going to get, he's going to meet his threshold. So if he put Cleveland Motor right on his forehead, that'd be good.
Well, I was just thinking, like, what if you do like track days and stuff? Then this could make your car look more legit.
It would. Oh yeah. If it says, preparation H on the side of your Hyundai, that's good cross promotion, because it is, it's preparation H, you're ready to go autocrossing. And plus you could take care of people's butt hurt, and if you did put Cleveland Moto on your forehead, aside from just looking like a dipshit, there you go. Golden Palace.
That was it.
Yeah. Yep. And then look at this. There's come on. There's no shortage of people who've done this. By the looks of it, I'm seeing a lot of people.
Look at this fucking guy. This guy.
That one woman has got, xxxhomevideo.com, drfreak.com. So he's got several on his face. And then like there's a lady on the left-hand side that's got goldenpalace.com done in 400-point font on her ample bosom.
Yeah.
That's kind of incredible.
As though she needs to wear the hat to sell the package.
And this guy's whole life was ruined by that tattoo, apparently.
No,
Yeah, things were going well up until then.
It looks like he's got 400 beer pull tabs going through his skin.
Okay, anyways.
Wow.
Well, that
Is anybody but me mildly disturbed by grumpy sewer guys like Cam? Where's your other hand is what I want to know. Right now. What? Okay.
Right.
Okay. Because I've seen this before, and
He's got
usually
the automatic flashlight working for him. He's
I'm not asleep yet.
Steve's-
Okay, here, I'll turn on the lamp.
He's not asleep at least.
The lighting's not the problem, Steve. It's obviously that you're supine.
Nick, you got a haircut.
I did get a haircut.
I'm fairly sure you don't have pants on right now.
I don't. Serious, I don't.
If he didn't have pants on for the drive home, why would he put pants on for the podcast?
Right.
So I guess
Usually in the basement, and it's usually like 12 degrees in the basement. But today, I'm actually in my sunroom.
Oh, really?
I have a heat pump in here, and it's 72 degrees, and I'm burning up.
Really?
So I figured,
Take your hat off.
So you figured you'd air out your satchel?
Yes.
and my Janus.
And the Janus.
Why do you have to say not to say that? No,
Believe me, that's one of those ones that I just think that we really can't ever just let that die. I feel like that the J anus needs to live on in infamy.
No, it will.
Want to hear a joke?
Always.
Tell two because you missed it last week.
That's true.
A priest is driving his car down a sunny road when he suddenly sees a nun waiting at a bus stop. So he pulls over and offers her a lift, and the young nun says thanks and puts her luggage in the truck and sits down in the passenger seat next to the priest. As they set off, the nun shifts around to fasten her seatbelt, and her gown opens slightly to reveal a lovely leg. The priest glances down and nearly has an accident. After getting the car under control, he can't help but put his hand near her knee and slowly slides it up her leg. The nun looks down and immediately says, "Father, remember, Psalm 129. The priest gets flustered and apologizes profusely, forces himself to remove his hand. However, he's unable to remove his eyes from her leg. Again, while shifting gears, his hand slides up her leg again. The nun announces again, "Father, remember, Psalm 129. He apologizes, "Sorry, sister, the flesh is weak." At arriving at the convent, the nun gets out, gives him a meaningful glance and a wink, and goes on her way.
Wank?
A wink.
Big difference. Big difference.
Oh, yeah.
On his arrival back at the church, the priest rushes in to retrieve his Bible and looks up Psalm 129. Psalm says, "Go forth and seek. Further up, you will find glory."
Nice. That's good. That's fantastic. I got a nice email today from the folks over at Tesla, and it turns out they are planning to release the Cybertruck by the end of the year, or by the summertime, I guess. They're going to start releasing Cybertrucks.
What does that mean for you?
Well, I have a deposit down on one, so that means I might, in fact, be getting a Cybertruck. I mean, who knows? When they did these deposits, a $100 deposit that is refundable, only an idiot wouldn't submit a deposit. So who knows how long it's going to take them to get through all the Cybertrucks until they get to my deposit. But
So raise your hand here if you're an idiot that didn't put down $100 deposit.
well, I guess, of all the other cars that were out there, like the LEO and all kinds of things that people could put a deposit down and have a substantial amount of money and lose that deposit, the Tesla doing a $100 deposit, I was just like, man, I do love it. I mean, I love the idea of the Tesla truck, and I like a lot of things about it. So I did. I put the $100 deposit down on the middle one, the one with a 300-mile range and the four-wheel drives, but not the ridiculous,
What are they supposed to sell for?
They come in at $39.99, $49.99, and I believe $59.99, and then an extra $10,000 cherry on top if you want the 100% self-driving feature.
You have to figure that's almost as soon as you get that truck. I mean, you've immediately got a first gen vehicle that could potentially be kind of even more valuable than the day you get it. You know what I mean? Like, it could be one of those situations where people who didn't get one want one, and they would give you double the money just to get their hands on one.
Just to get one. I think there's quite a bit of that, and I think that especially with this kind of a product, there will be people that are like, oh, they didn't put a deposit in and they just really want to own one. And this particular car, because this isn't a $200,000 car, you know, for a lot of people, this is just fuck you money, you know? So I think that the idea behind us doing it is with us doing zero electric motorcycles and doing Energicas. And then we just signed a contract for new NIU, which are the little electric scooters, you know, that are, you know, up to 45 miles per hour and a 40 mile or 50 mile range, give or take. So, you know, we're going to have a lot of electric products at our shop. So I thought it'd be great if I could deliver those products in an electric truck.
Makes sense.
So.
And as opposed to a Rivian or something like that, I wanted to have an electric truck that fucking looks like an electric truck.
I want you to get the ATV.
I started some negotiations for a new truck yesterday, and now you've got me reconsidering.
Yeah, I can't promise you that this one's going to be out or anybody's like, if I'll even get mine this year. I have no idea. I could only assume that how long is it going to take them to build? I think they have over 1 million reservations for these cars, or 1 million deposits.
So 1 million deposits at $100 deposits, that's $100 million that they got to start the project and fund that.
Yeah,
crazy.
Exactly. Yeah. That's I think we found that out today with the stock market, and our friends over at
buying GameStop.
A very quickly failing video game store just got, I think, a $22 billion influx of value to their company.
I love what they did, though, because they fucked the stupid hedge funds.
Well, yeah, the short sellers have always been.
Some of them are going to also have screwed themselves.
Yes, right. Of course. Absolutely.
But if you're doing it for not making money, but if you're doing it to just stick it up a hedge fund, you know, guy's ass, then.
I wish I had that kind of money to throw away.
Well, the people who have every year annually been trying to short Tesla stock. There's many videos and documentaries about people that thought they were going to short Tesla stock, and unfortunately, it just continues to go up. And
so did you hear that the stock exchange stopped day traders from trading those 4 stocks, but the professionals and the institutions were still allowed to trade them today?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
basically the individuals were not allowed to. They were allowed to sell. They weren't allowed to buy.
Couldn't buy. Yeah.
So basically, that's artificially decreasing the value of those 4 stocks.
That's right. It's exactly.
And covering the ass of the guys that are doing the shorting.
Yeah. Yep. So I think it's a really interesting experiment. If nothing else, I think it might change a couple of things, the way we deal with that in this.
So I went out and bought 2 new video games.
Yeah.
Well, what's going to do is these guys in these hedge funds are going to play the same game, but they're going to go long on some of this stuff. And then they're going to manipulate these guys into buying the stock, and they're going to have a long position in it. And then they're going to make a ton of money by these guys buying it up. And then as soon as it hits a price point, they'll sell and they'll screw those guys. So,
Steve, you're already letting the clues out. Now you just ruined it for everybody.
No, but what I'm saying is what they need to do is limit anybody from they should limit a hedge fund from being able to manipulate a certain percentage of the stock. So what they need to say is you're only allowed to sell if you have a position. You're only allowed to have 0.5% per day of selling off your position or shorting 0.5%. And then that would stop all that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in favor of more regulation?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not.
Come on, Q. Tell us the truth.
I don't have a problem with regulation. Glass-Steagall, they got rid of Glass-Steagall, right? And it fucked the whole mortgage banking industry.
That's true. Yeah.
Your boy Clinton did that, though.
So
Today was probably my most financially significant day of my life. I had the good fortune to be able to go pick up a check for the proceeds of the sale of our house. Actually, it was 2 checks.
Yes.
For $28,580.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah. So I got one, Grandma got one, and we got to find out a way to launder the money out of Grandma's name and into mine.
Well, I believe this was that time when she was planning on buying that stamp collection you had.
Yeah.
She was going to buy that extensive stamp collection that you've been working on for the past 40 years. And that stamp collection was, well over $20,000 worth of stamps.
Yep. I'm going to sell her I'm selling her a 1979 Scout for $28,000.
Perfect. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The problem with the Scout is there's a title, or there should be.
Somebody can have if you want to come seize the title, you can have it.
You can come and see that title. Yeah. So there's on Bring a Trailer. And if you guys aren't familiar with Bring a Trailer, they're a really good site for buying and seeing cool cars. And it's definitely not eBay. It's definitely not Craigslist. Bring a Trailer really enforces this thing. Like, if you're going to list a car on Bring a Trailer, it's got to be fucking good. They've got standards, and they'll write your description for you. And Bring a Trailer is just one of those things. I love reading or seeing what's on Bring a Trailer, but there are cat asked over there from Nick. There are things that show up on Bring a Trailer that just, in my opinion, just shouldn't be on Bring a Trailer, but they can be pretty funny. So if you look on the thing I put up in the chat window, these Chrysler Snow Runners. Snow Runners have had just a hell of a year on Bring a Trailer. And I remember a good period of time when I had 2 of these that I got for the princely sum of free. And they didn't come together. They each arrived totally independent of the other. Apparently, though, 1990 or so was a good year to get rid of your Chrysler Snow Runner. So if Steve can bring up a picture of a Chrysler Snow Runner, for most of our podcast listeners where they live in a place that doesn't have, 72 inches of partly cloudy per year, you wouldn't need to know about a Chrysler Snow Runner. But what that particular vehicle is it's basically a moped for the snow.
Very cool.
And these things were, when I was a child, these things were a hot commodity. Like, this was how you knew Timmy had the cool dad. Just the craziest damn thing in the world. And the snow conditions do have to be kind of perfect for these. Because it is narrow, it's a very skinny belt, and there is a belt back there. There's actually a drive belt that works very much like a regular snowmobile, but this kick-ass little 2-stroke 135cc motor back there rips along and turns the belt.
Is that the same engine that they put in the Rocan?
It's the same motor, the engine they use in a ton of stuff. So if you look up that motor, you'll find that many vehicles had that motor in the mid-'70s and late '60s. That little 2-stroke 135 got put in everything. And it's very funny that this particular vehicle has the word Chrysler stamped on it, because it's not a Chrysler motor. So it's a fun little thing. And the one that I had, I did actually go to all the trouble of making it work. And I can tell you is what you have going through your head, because it's the motorcycle configuration, is that you're going to be like cruising through the snow at 50 miles per hour. And when you do actually get it going and you get it running and you find the right level of packed snow, and there's enough snow on there to make the front ski grip, because if you're on a flat parking lot that's just iced over or solid, the front ski does nothing to grip onto and you just fall down a lot. But if you get the right amount of snow where the back can hook up but not dig itself in, and the front can hook up to steer, you'll realize that 25 miles per hour is fucking flying on that particular vehicle. So the Snow Runner, it doesn't need more motor. When you see pictures of those dirt bikes with the track kit on the back and the big front ski on the front, you'll realize that is like 4 times too much horsepower. But the Snow Runner, and they're selling, it's hilarious. They're selling for between like $2,000 and $4,000 right now.
That's insane. That's totally insane.
Far too much money for something you could probably use in a very small part of America for a very short period of time. So but it is a hilarious thing, and it's a motorcycle anomaly. It's something that people who ride motorcycles their whole life will never even know existed, and that's the Chrysler Snow Runner. Fun.
Well, it's not like people buying it are actually going to use it. It's just a cool thing to own, I think.
I think it is a cool thing to own. I think that's funny about it is, of all the motorcycles ever created in history, it has one of the most unfortunate looking seats I've ever seen. The gas tank is the frame, much like a Mad Ass bike. What is funny about it is the riding position. I don't know if you have the opportunity to see a human being sitting on it, but it is very chopper-esque. It's a very strange thing. Like, they definitely don't want you putting too much weight on that front ski. That front ski is basically just a suggestion. So, yeah, it's a very interesting, weird motorcycle oddity. So just thought that'd be fun for folks.
Speaking of motorcycle oddities, I joined a whole bunch of various Honda CT groups and Super Cub groups and stuff like that. And one of the groups I joined was people building those BMX bike frames that you can mount like a Honda 50 engine in it. And I've decided that's something that I want to do in the future. What was that?
That's your next move? That's what you're going to build?
I don't know if that's my next move, but that's a future move, I think. Because it's got the gas tank in the frame as well. And it just, I want to go as small as possible. Like, what is the lightest bike that a Honda horizontal single could possibly power?
What's that? What was that one they made that for 2 years in Japan that was Honda 50cc? It looks like a bicycle. It had a monoshock. But it's got a gas tank. It was like an experimental model. It had 17-inch wheels, but it had forks, and it was a great. I want to get one so badly, but you can't import them.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of interesting. I can't recall that. It must have been from a ways back.
It was the 80s. It was the 80s, I think.
Mm-hmm. And it had 17s on it.
It had 17s. It was. It looks like a bicycle, but with a monoshock. It's a single seater. It's a Solo. Is it a Honda Solo?
Uh-huh.
Is that what it was called?
I don't know. I just stumbled upon the Honda Super 90 concept motorcycle, and I have to say, damn, wow, that's crazy. You're
saying it's a modern Honda Super 90?
If you Google Honda Super 90 concept motorcycle, as I'm sure somebody will, Honda Super 90 concept, what I've just seen there is I've seen the future, and I like it. It looks like it might even have a gasoline powered engine, which Chevy has said they won't have any more of by 2035. But that concept, that Honda Super 90 concept, is just crazy looking. It's cool.
Who's putting stuff in the microwave there? I just heard somebody.
Well, I sent that one text about the ST125, and that's if that thing comes out, it's going to be a take my money moment. Because I will definitely be on one of those.
Mm-hmm. Steve, pull up Honda Solo 50.
Honda Solo 50?
I'm on it. Hold on.
But for people out in the podcast listening area, the ST125 is like the venerable ST90, which is a larger version of a CT70.
Right.
But they're talking about releasing it in maybe 2021 or 22.
You know what, Steve? I'm glad you brought this up because I had completely forgotten about this thing. But boy, you're not kidding. 2003, and you get down to the one with the black inserts on the gas tank. And
I want one of those so badly.
Yeah, click on that. That is just tasty. Yeah.
That's kind of sharp looking. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. The Honda Solo. Yep, and that's got that same motor that they put in the Dream. Now, the late model Dream had that crazy dual overhead cam motor, and it put out serious fun. So the Dream 50 motor, don't let the 50 part fool you.
That's aftermarket, though.
Yeah, I think they're right. That looks like it.
Because they have a horizontal 50cc. Like most of them have that horizontal.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep, I see that.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a standard. Does everything.
Fucking hate Pinterest. Fuck you.
Oh yeah, Pinterest makes the internet no fun. Yep. But yeah, that's crazy cool.
There it is. All right.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Oh, there it is.
That's a neat thing to have around.
We talk about that's so minimalistic.
Oh yeah,
but it's perfect. I mean,
that's the kind of thing Nick's talking about. But I think where Nick is going.
I think even simpler than that. If you, right. Steve, if you could bring up a picture, like if you Google, sorry, I'm making you Google everything, but Honda BMX.
Right.
It's literally, it looks like a BMX bike, but it has instead of having pedals, it has a little Honda engine,
a little motor.
Well, that's very much kind of like what the Sachs Madass was. I mean, it was basically a mountain bike with a motor in it.
And same with the Kymco K-pipe. You know, the Kymco K-pipe was the same idea, right? But I think that where Nick's talking about, like, this is rigid front end, rigid back end.
Right.
And, you know, it just pedals harder than you ever could.
Wow, that's crazy. That's seriously a BMX bike with a fucking hook.
Yeah, it's exactly.
It's a little bit larger than an actual BMX bike, but
you can see it's stretched.
Same idea. Yeah.
Wow,
yeah, super cool.
But wait, was it made by Redline? The Redline X Honda. So
I think it's a Redline frame.
Well, it's Lotus on the.
Yeah.
I've seen a couple different companies manufacturing these frames.
I mean, Losta does all kinds of cool stuff. So
didn't they do that one CB 160 and some stuff?
Yep.
That's cool though. That's cool really neat. That was really
neat.
Cool.
That's super cool. Anybody do their homework on the KLR 650?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Holy crap.
Let's before you even start, let's initiate everybody in on this fucking thing.
Okay, so we all know we had the KLR 650. In 1921, Kawasaki designed, engineered, and built the first KLR 650. The bike has been around forever. It's been used by many militaries all over the planet. There's no shortage of them in my garage. I've owned way more than I should have. At one point, I owned 6 of the actual military KLR 650s that went to Iraq, that went to Saudi Arabia. And John has one of those now. I still have 2 of them left. I have one that I picked that I ride that has extremely low miles on it and has combat injuries. It has fragmentation from a grenade or some other thing in the bike. Like, it's actually got damage in it. And we pulled a 12.7 millimeter, that's 50 caliber Russian round from between the frame and the motor. So that's bikes that have actually seen combat duty.
It's legit.
Pretty weird, right? But KLR 650s have been around for no shit forever. And they really only went through one major change. One time, and one time only. And that's, I mean, saying that when there's a DR650 still on planet Earth really doesn't mean shit, because the DR650 has done exactly the same thing, but I don't think the DR650 ever changed. I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same motorcycle you could buy in the 80s.
Old new graphics.
Exactly. So when Kawasaki came out with their Generation 2 in the 2010s, really what it did is they made the front end a little more aerodynamic. They got away from the square headlight. They got away from the square plastics around it. And they did make it look a little more aerodynamic, but they didn't give us a 6th speed in the transmission on a motorcycle that people do ride on the freeway a lot. I mean, I've ridden cross country on that bike. And they didn't give us fuel injection. So the 2 biggest complaints they didn't address. They just changed the shape of headlight and made the thing look sleeker. The problem was, you used to be able to take a KLR and swing a baseball bat at it, and the baseball bat would bounce off because, like, the plastics were very resilient. The plastics were really, like, they could take a hit. And then the new bikes that came out, that mid-generation, they were very brittle. Like, you would drop the bike even against your own knee and the plastic would crack.
Yeah, it had sport bike plastic on a dirt bike.
That is not this. That is definitely not the spirit of a KLR 650. You're supposed to be able to kick them over and have it cost you nothing. So I've had one of those KLR 650 modern, facelift bikes, and as much as the motor and everything is the same, and it has the upgrade, so you don't need to do the doohickey mod.
Doohickey, right?
So that's one thing that they did change that is important, is no more of these timing cam advancer failures. Now, as a guy who's run a lot of miles on KLRs, that wasn't a thing that killed a lot of KLRs. It was something that people were aware of and they could mod, so everyone did. And I have seen these things come out of bikes all fucked up, and the bike is still running really well. So
as a game, how about everybody says what they think? What did Kawasaki do for 2022 to update the KLR before we pull it up? Does anybody have an idea?
I know exactly. I have the whole list in front of me.
You got the whole list.
All right. Well, then don't answer yet. Anybody else who has not researched?
I don't have the list in front of me. Okay. And I did see a picture briefly, low resolution, shot at a distance through a coffee filter. And I can tell you that they changed the plastics for sure.
Yeah.
But I can only tell you that the motor configuration, the motor itself looks identically the same.
It is.
The motor looks the same and the plastics look different. I'm going to cross myself right now in the Marilyn Manson fashion, and I'm going to hope that it has fuel injection.
Well, I'll say the fuel injection, I would think they would put that on there, but I would say that they tuned it for mid-range, and so they fucked something else up in the system to make it like run less, not as good as it used to run.
Okay, yeah.
Opposite.
All right.
I'm going to make the bold assumption that it is approximately 30 pounds heavier than it was before.
Ooh, that's
you are
painful.
Correct.
That's painful. Shit.
You are correct.
Well,
wow.
should we take a look at this?
That's
beast?
not cool.
Should we take a look at this beast?
Yeah, bring it up, man. Bring it up. And then let John break it down for us and tell us what did they do.
All right.
Because it's only been gone for a couple of years, right?
Yep.
1 year.
1 year?
So this is a Gen 3. So these are the highlights. It's got new fuel injected 652 single cylinder engine. It's basically the same engine.
Yeah.
But when from reading it, they put different cams in it. Mm-hmm. They did some stuff with the intake and exhaust ports and the track. So they're actually trying to get more horsepowers out of it.
Interesting.
Multifunction digital instrumentation with a fuel gauge. So a new dashboard, new LED headlight, new bodywork, including a fuel tank. The fuel tank's been reworked.
Yeah.
A larger front disc and optional ABS.
Okay.
Greater wind protection and styling. So it looks like it might have a little bit more windshield and stuff.
It looks like they
increased carrying capacity. When they say the increased carrying capacity, the rear part of the frame is no longer modular. It's actually welded on.
And that's
all solid now.
Yeah, so that was a big problem with KLRs. Is the KLRs actually had the subframe, the back of the bike was bolted onto the main frame with these two rather normal bolts. And the cool thing that everybody would do is you'd get rid of those two bolts that were captured by threads on the inside of the main frame. They were notorious to fail. And you would just put a giant fucking bolt through it. You put a big, giant 10 millimeter bolt through there, at diameter. And you'd put that through, and then you could literally, the back end of the bike wouldn't fall off anymore if you overloaded it. Yep. And so that's clearly they've addressed that.
But look at this. Read the blue.
Oh.
Okay, still 5 gears.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so they've revised the third gear. I don't know how. Just the dogs apparently. A new finishing process on the fourth and the fifth gears, and a new thrust needle clutch release bearing should make things a bit smoother and more robust. But it hasn't changed anything to do with giving you something resembling overdrive.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
They also increased the length of the wheelbase is actually longer because of a new swing arm.
Yeah.
And they used longer swing arm pivot shafts as well as larger axle shafts.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's never
This
a bad
is new.
thing.
Look at this. They have a digital dash now.
Oh, I can tell that they parked this bike they parked this bike between an Africa Twin and a KTM Adventure at lunchtime. And what happened is this bike did what most KLR owners did, and it stole parts off of the two bikes it was parked next to.
The engine got fuel injection, revised cam profiles, a larger exhaust pipe diameter, updated clutch.
They engineered the
generator output from 17 to 26 amps.
Okay, that's good.
Low maintenance battery, lighter starter,
and an enclosed milk crate.
And also, heated grips come standard now.
Oh, nice. That's smart. That's good. Yeah, I mean, it is. Look, don't get me wrong. It's a good looking motorcycle as far as those things are concerned, and I love anything that comes from the factory with urban camouflage.
And look, it's only. I mean, that's actually reasonable for what it is.
It's basically staying at almost the same price.
Yeah, the price didn't change at all.
And now you get fuel injection.
You got fuel injection, you got heated grips, and you got a bigger gas tank, and the price didn't go up. So, yay. Good job, guys. Good job.
I think that's a win.
I think so, too. I think it is. I think it's absolutely a win for the KLR 650, even though they didn't give us a sixth speed in the transmission. Yeah. So, I guess the owner will have to adjust that via sprocket choices.
Looks way better. So, I mean...
I don't like 6 speeds anyway.
Yeah. Well, for me, the problem with my bike was I chose to make the mistake of using a KLR to go cross country on, which, doing a cross country trip on a single cylinder motorcycle is never a great idea. And to do it on the KLR could look, the fact that it made it to Alaska and made it back, it already speaks volumes about the fact that it's a really fucking good motorcycle. But what I can tell you is that at the higher range of the speed, the motor was actually being protected by that 21-inch front wheel. And so every time I would get up to a speed that I was like, I feel good at this speed. I'm making time now. I'm going 80 miles an hour. As soon as I would hit 80 miles an hour, the front wheel would start oscillating. So the front wheel was your rev limiter. The front wheel was the best cruise control I would ever have as far as like, you're about to, you're just going to overtask the motor. But yeah, the front wheel at 80 miles an hour would start hunting, and I would keep taking luggage items, heavy things, and moving them to the middle of the bike. So, I know my bike, whenever I got it, when it still had the knobbies on it, I took it up to like 90 mile an hour, and it was in a full-blown fucking wag, like, whoa. Totally involved, yeah.
Would a steering dampener help that, or is that just a chassis thing?
You know what? I don't think it's a steering dampener thing. I think I think that Kawasaki fixed it, because by fixing the swing arm mounting point, what people don't realize is a lot of time when you have a oscillation at the headset, the problem's not in the front end. Yeah. Most of the time, if you tighten up the back end and get rid of sloppy swing arm bushings that are 80 years old or something, or you get rid of sloppy shock mounts and stuff that are old, you get rid of all that stuff and your oscillation in your handlebars goes away. Because that's definitely what it felt like. The bike was hinged in the middle, and it was like, yeah. Usually, if you can tighten up a swing arm assembly, you can tighten up the pivot point, and you get that nice and good, and get some new bushings in there, and that front end will disappear. The thing is, I've had KLRs that were literally brand new that did that at 85 to 90 miles per hour. So it's just part of the way they were built, and maybe that's what they did with that redesign and that swing arm. And by making that swing arm longer, it's going to also make that go away. So that's cool. It sounds like they listened. Good I guess them. We'll see. It seems like most of what they did made it more streetable. Yep. It still has the same amount of suspension travel. I don't know what they did. It didn't. I don't remember them saying anything about doing much with the suspension in and of itself. They didn't do the one thing I wanted them to do, which was put in a Versys motor.
But the seat looks really comfortable.
Yeah.
If they did a better seat, that would be great, because that's the biggest downfall on mine.
It's still the same. I mean, it's still within a couple of $100 of buying a Vespa 300. So, around my shop, I have the natural tendency of comparing everything to the price of scooters.
Which one's more Camaro?
What's that?
Which one is more Camaro? A Vespa or a KLR?
No, because Vespas are weird. When you ride a Vespa, it's actually the least Camaro thing you can do.
Oh, of course,
it's so overtly. It's almost like a wallet chain and a leather vest. Like,
no, I get it, but I'm saying owning one compared to just riding one, which is more Camaro.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. And that's the funny thing is KLR 650s have always been G.I. Joe's motorcycle. Like, so if people didn't know anything about motorcycles and you ride up on a KLR 650, everyone thinks you're riding a giant dirt bike. They don't realize what you're riding is a big floppy, single cylinder touring bike,
thing.
So,
I'm riding a giant dirt bike. I've actually ridden mine.
Yeah.
And the biggest disappointment was the one time I was riding and I went down there to Clear Fork and a kid showed up on a brand new one. And I'm like, oh, nice bike. Hey, yeah. You want to go for a ride? Let's go up this hill. He's like, no. I'm like, you paid your $20. You came here for a reason.
Yeah.
Let's go ride some trails. Don't worry. It's not that. And he wanted no part of it. I think he rode up the main slope, turned around, came back and left. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I mean,
like every BMW guy that spends $28,000 to be able to conquer the world and they don't do anything. Not all. I'm sorry. I'm not saying all. I'm not trying to generalize.
I get it. And you know what? I will have more fun on a $900 125cc dirt bike. I will have more fun on $1,000 worth of 25 dirt bike than I will on $20,000.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that most adventure dudes need to realize is that there's like 12 people in the country that can rip a fucking 1200cc adventure bike.
Yeah.
The rest of us are riding them on the highways and doing things like that. And if you want to enjoy off-road, you'd be better served getting a 250 something that weighs 230 pounds and riding that.
You could go on YouTube right now and watch a guy jumping his KLR 650 over a road. Yeah, right. 20 feet in the air. Whoa! Bam! It will do it, but you've got to be able to command that beast.
Yeah.
Does the new KLR have upside down front forks?
I don't think so.
No.
I think, as far as I could tell, there wasn't a whole lot of talk about any better suspension on it.
Yeah.
No, they'll let you pay for that in the aftermarket.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay for that on the front end. So that's pretty cool. We also wanted to talk right now. I participate in a lot of electric vehicle forums, as we already mentioned a few times in this podcast. But there's been, the nerds are just fucking in bloom right now over the Harley-Davidson LiveWire, because when Harley-Davidson did their launch of, they did their website for 2021, and there wasn't a 2021 LiveWire on their website. There wasn't one. There just fucking wasn't one. So all the people from all the different press agencies and stuff like that, they started inferring that because there wasn't a 2021 LiveWire on the factory's website, that they were going to cut the project and that they were going to stop the bleeding on the LiveWire project and make it go away. And then recently, a few days ago, Harley-Davidson had a big virtual launch of all their bikes for 2021. And there were a few bikes that weren't there. There were a few bikes that weren't present in the virtual launch. And so a lot of people, when they said, okay, well, these bikes weren't present in the virtual launch, holy shit, what's going on? And that's something that people really, really got upset about. So to see that there were certain vehicles that weren't represented as 2021 model years. And this is one of those things that when you look at the LiveWire, everything that they're saying about the LiveWire is 2020. So, see, now you clicked on it, it still says 2020 on the website, where all the other products they're carrying through all specify 2021. When Harley-Davidson was approached about this, they said that they're going to be doing another launch in June that will specify the 2021 LiveWire. So to a lot of us, that's like when Q tells you that they're going to overthrow the government tomorrow.
Right. No, but you have a good point.
Well, no, we meant 2 weeks from now.
These all say 2021.
They all do.
And I have to admit, this is pretty dope. I would buy that. That's pretty, I'm just saying. But anyways, so there, yeah. But then when you go, just like you were saying, then what does it say? But
2020.
Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
And so I guess also in the accessories catalog for Harley Davidson, when they list the 2021 bikes, they don't list the 2021 LiveWire. So, they don't make these websites by accident. These are multi-million-dollar websites. And so when somebody makes the decision to have a 2021 version of everything, except for the LiveWire, and then there's also things like the Panamera and the Bronx that are
on,
not getting, what's happening isn't what people said was going to happen. So it's a very strange time right now. But what I can tell you is the freaking internet guys are just gone bonkers. The Harley-Davidson LiveWire forum is just they're predicting dogs and cats living together. I mean, they are convinced that they have all been swindled. If you read this forum, these guys are like, look, I just spent $30,000 on a motorcycle that Harley-Davidson did for one frickin' year. I'm very fearful that my product is not going to be supported. My $30,000 product may not be supported into the future. It's really getting creepy over there. And
so if they had done their research, they would have bought a Zero anyway.
I don't even want to get into that. I mean, yes, Zero, Energica, Harley-Davidson, those are the three big ones. We read the news release that said that Harley-Davidson was the best-selling electric motorcycle in the world. No, the Harley-Davidson LiveWire was the best-selling model. Whereas Zero has 8 models. And if you put them all together, it's a lot more than LiveWires that they sold. But, Zero has 8 different models. And Energica has 4 different models, 6 different models. Whereas Harley has 1 model. So,
Beatrice.
Yeah. Hello.
Listen. Hi.
I'm just waiting for you to turn your dad into some sort of a minion or some other strange creature. I know you're going to. I know it's only a matter of time until some filters end up on your father's head.
Cyclopsicize him.
Yes, exactly.
Wait, she wants this. Hold on. We'll make this happen.
She's gonna make you into Taranga Leela from. There you go. Of course, yes.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one.
So as I was saying,
now they jumped onto you. See, the pig. Oh my God, the pig. Now, is that pig or is that just a tan-colored bat? Because you kind of look like a bat. Bats have that. Oh, look out. There's sharks. Yeah. That's my favorite right there. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Come on, you got to knock that off. It's the sparkles. I'm telling you, it's the sparkles.
I can't get it. All right. So sorry, go ahead.
Do you remember how for years we used to say how nobody's making beginner bikes?
Yeah.
I think we can finally put that to rest.
I think we can. I think the topic of our conversation for the first 5 years of our podcast was that, there you go. There's the Cyclops. Oh, she stole it from you. I totally agree that the first 5 years of our podcast where we were telling everybody the problem is they don't offer cool small bikes to the American market. Jesus, there's a lot of cool small bikes.
The 300cc segment is ridiculous. In fact, most manufacturers are offering at least 2 or 3 in like Yamaha has the R3 and the MT-03.
Yep.
BMW is in the act. KTM's in the act. Right. Honda's got like a plethora. I mean, if you go from the CBR 500 all the way down to the Monkeys and the Passport and the Rebels and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
And there's only more coming.
Right. Yeah. There's no shortage right now of brand new motorcycles. And I hope at this point it doesn't bite people in the ass, because if I were the dealer that had to carry that. See, remember, every time a company comes out with a new model, keep in mind your local dealer has to carry that. He doesn't get an option on that. He's got to carry that. So when you see Suzuki that has all of their 1986 models in stock still, but then also brings out 15 new ones, your poor dealer's got to carry all those bikes. And so, Suzuki, Honda,
Birch's 300.
What's
There's
that?
a Versy 300 now.
Yeah, Versys 300s. There's so many bikes that are available, and I saw they're talking about doing the bigger versions of all these bikes too. So we looked at the Honda Rebel with its 300 and its 500, and now they're talking about doing, what is it, a Rebel 1100? So
you sell these bikes to people and stuff. When they come in, what is the age group of people buying the smaller bikes? Are there younger people, or is it?
It is, and this part holds true. It is young people, or it is smarter people that are returning to riding. So the guys that have their kids have gone to college now and they're looking for a bike. The smart ones, right? The guys who aren't so smart, they're saying, I had a 650 in 1983. Now I need a 1200 because I'm older, right? But that
and they have more insurance.
Well, with young people too, I think you'll see that the people who do more research are the ones that are being more modest with what they think they can handle.
Boy, you said
whether that be motorcycle wise or monetarily.
You're absolutely right. Remember that 20 years ago, my biggest buyer, in a previous life, I was at a Suzuki dealership where the young guys came in, and all the young guys came in and they wanted GSXR 1000s. They wanted Hayabusas. They wanted ridiculous, unattainable horsepower, right? And if you even suggested to them that they might have a Katana 600, they would just scream and moan and piss, and they'd be like, well, okay, maybe I'll take a GSXR 600. Be like, well, that GSXR 600 is still over 100 horsepower, right? But there was so much ego attached to having 1000 cc's. Now, in today's market, the people who are buying motorcycles, and I will say this about the millennial market, is they are risk averse. So they are very concerned about, hospital bills. They're concerned about insurance costs. They're insured about, I guess what I'd say, they're mostly concerned about the insurance they don't have, right? And when they look at bikes, they are not looking at 100 horsepower bikes. They tend to actually be telling me things like, okay, well, I want a good entry level bike. I'm like, well, this Benelli 300, the 302S, it goes 100 miles per hour. And they're like, oh no, I don't want that. Like,
well, you don't have to go 100 miles.
And that's my point is I'm like, well, the car you drove here in goes 125, but you didn't do that on the way here,
I don't have to be a badass.
And that's what's interesting is they will never find out. They really don't want to know that Benelli goes 100 miles an hour. And that's what differentiates it from some of its competitors. It's a 2-cylinder motor with a whole bunch of valves, so it goes faster than its single-cylinder competitors. So it is interesting. And then our guys that are getting back into riding, like Chris, when Chris came into the shop, Chris was the perfect example of his kids had gotten old enough that they could afford to lose him. Right?
Yeah, and they took me out every weekend and lost me. But I found my way back.
Well, and it was a good thing in Chris's life that he was able to get back into riding motorcycles, But Chris didn't come back into it and say he wanted an 1100 cc GS,
I said, help me put my 450 GS back together.
He literally just said,
you wanted to pick up where you left off.
Yes, exactly.
Here's a box of parts.
That was exactly all he cared about was like, can we just make that be stasis? Just like a point on the timeline that just never moved. So yeah. And that's great that he took his actual bike and restored his actual bike to the way that, that he bought it. He probably went home and put his old jeans on too, the big wide flares, the belt, the big.
Grew his hair long. Hey, you want to hear a joke?
Always.
So I met an older woman at a bar last night. She looked pretty good for a lady who must have been in her 60s. In fact, she wasn't all that bad at all. So I found myself thinking about she probably had a hot daughter also. So we drank a few beers and she asked me if I had ever had a sportsman's double. I said, what's that? She says it's a mother and a daughter threesome. As my mind began to embrace the idea, I wondered what her daughter might look like. And I said, no, I haven't. So we drank a little bit more and she said, well, tonight's going to be your lucky night. So we went back to her place and I was nervous with anticipation. And she walked in and turned on the hall light and shouted upstairs, hey, Mom, you still awake?
Dr. Waters got that before you gave the punchline. In the other room, and she's like, she was the daughter.
All right, we're giving Dr. Waters credit for that one.
You know what? It's just the anticipation of mom coming down the stairs on that glide chair, on that staircase chair.
I'm just thinking, I got a Sportsman's double waiting for me anytime I want it right here. I can walk in the house anytime I want.
And you know, your mother-in-law probably won't even remember.
Yeah, but she brings her big jar of lube, I'll tell you that.
Oh, that's awful. Oh, that's crazy.
Oh, no.
I really don't have, I can't even begin to top that at all. One of the things that we have kind of gotten some messages, I guess, for we'll talk about our podcast listeners. And one of our guys, John Carden, was nice enough that he's literally trying to get into a scooter right now, and trying to get his wife into a scooter right now, and putting a lot of effort into it. And one of the things is he asked us a few weeks ago, he asked us really about the Royal Alloy. That's a 150cc scooter that looks like a vintage Lambretta, right? It looks very much like a vintage Lambretta. And it's a modern automatic transmission scooter. It's made in China, like a lot of them are. And unfortunately, it's kind of weird. It's really wide. It's really tall. Anybody who's ever ridden one knows that if you're on the wrong side of 5'6", it's kind of a hard bike to ride. And it looks
all steel body though, right? Doesn't that have an all steel body?
It does. It's got more steel in it than a modern Vespa. I mean, these things are they're very well put together, right? Now,
God damn it! Sorry, I was trying to set something up and it fucking.
Okay, so his wife kind of wants one of these Royal Alloy 150s, but I'm going to tell you, we've let a lot of people ride them. We took it to a scooter rally in Buffalo, New York, and we made everybody ride it. And some of these ladies who have been riding actual real vintage Lambrettas, which are, 2-stroke and 4-speed manual grip shifts, all steel heavy bikes. And some of these ladies who've been riding Vespas, which of course, a Vespa P200 or a Vespa Rally 200 has got kind of a high seat. So if you're 5'4" and you're trying to ride a Vespa P200 or a Vespa Rally 200, you really got to have your shit together. It's not real easy for people who aren't real tall. And the Royal Alloy 150, it's really tall. Like the seat's really tall and it's really chunky. So to get your feet down to the ground, it's really like riding a bourbon barrel. So it's really a tough bike to recommend if you're not over 5'6". And this was the funny thing. It came down to, we've had a couple of the Royal Alloys that have had some little electrical problems that we're still kind of hoping they sort that out. They're new for the American market. We want them to take care of that stuff. Maybe the wire's a little thinner than it needs to be. But they did bring up, and I'm going to say this for people just as a advisory. If you are considering getting a scooter, a modern scooter, not an old one to fix up, that's a whole different thing. Look at the Liberty 150 and look at the Buddy 170. It's fuel injected. If you look at those two bikes, I think you are literally looking at two of the best bikes that aren't a Vespa Primavera. So Vespa Primavera, Vespa Sprint, top of the game. But if you don't want to spend that $5,500, get down into that $3,000 range and look at the Liberty 150 from Piaggio. Look at the Buddy 170 from Genuine. Those two bikes are unfriggin' killable. Like they're
Is
good.
Primavera fuel injected?
Yeah, all these bikes that I just listed, with the exception of the Royal Alloy, all these bikes are fuel injected. So the Buddy 125 is carbureted. The Buddy 170 is fuel injected. I didn't talk about the Buddy 125.
I'm kind of surprised that the Royal Alloy isn't fuel injected.
Us too, absolutely. We thought it was a foregone conclusion that a bike that had the good suspension that it has, the good overall build quality that it has, we really thought the bike would be fuel injected. We were surprised it was carbureted. So, and from where we live, it's really tough to live with a carbureted bike with wintertime and stuff. So, but if you do want a rock solid 150cc modern scooter, that Liberty 150 and the Buddy 170i, those two bikes they get our seal of approval. for being short on cash, but a lot of fun and over 100 miles per gallon, you go with those bikes. You can't miss.
So doesn't Benelli or SSR, one of the two, make scooters?
So, well, SSR Benelli does make a scooter. They make a scooter that's called the Black Coffee, the Cafe Nero, right? And so the Cafe Nero is a 150cc scooter, but I'm going to tell you that it is not cutting edge. It is like a time machine. That Cafe Nero that Benelli is selling in the United States is basically the same as the 125 or 200cc scooters that Kymco was selling about 9 years ago. So, you know, our products that we've had from Benelli have been really, really good. But I think that to get a DOT and EPA approved bike into our market, they had to go with some older pre-approved technology. And I think that the Cafe Nero, I'm not going to say that there's anything about it that's bad, but I'm going to say it's just a little too Chinese and not enough Italian. And that's with that Cafe Nero. And it's almost a dead ringer for the older Kymco 125S and 200S and stuff like that they went with for a little while. So, but yeah, so that's a little bit of first.
I thought it looked familiar somehow.
It does kind of look familiar. It does look really familiar. If you look at a Kymco People 200S or a Kymco People 125S, and then you look at the Benelli Cafe Nero, they're almost, I mean, they're very similar. So yeah, it's not real cutting edge. But something for the people who do want the scooter report, Piaggio is launching a 400cc BV, a BV 400. Big news for 2021. Anybody who liked the BV 350, which is pretty much everybody,
or 500,
is looking forward to 50 more CCs and everything better. Everything top shelf. Downside, $10,000.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
$9,999. So for $99.99, it's a 400cc scooter. And I think that's a problem because it's a full $2,800 more than the BV 350 that's available right now today.
Right.
And kicks all the ass. So if you're going to ride a
sewer guy looks like he had a stroke.
Oh yeah.
There's Bell palsy going on over there.
Yeah.
Hey, but if you're concerned that scooters aren't that fun, I want to tell you guys this. This is This is my new hero in life.
Okay.
It's Billy coming at you from the fucking scooter squad. We're still over here for a nice brisk ride on this beautiful Saturday. Going to pick up the newest member of the fucking scooter squad. Gonna go for a rip on the old Honda today.
You start.
Yeah. What's up with everybody with all these fucking Christmas lights? Don't they realize it's scooting weather? Don't make sense. Christmas lights again. It's scoot weather. Let's go, brothers. Let's scoot. Okay, he wins. We're gonna let him by. He's a lot bigger than us, so. Someone messaged me the other day and was like, don't you think it's a little bit cold to be scootering? So I fucking deleted and blocked him. I don't need that type of negativity in my life. Fucking scoot on. Scooter squad. Woo!
That's my new hero in life, man.
That's awesome.
Scooter squad.
He's like the snowmobile guy.
The guy looked like he was on a Simba. When he scanned down briefly, I saw that the turn signal mounts on the handlebars looked a little bit like a Simba. So if Steve wasn't asleep right now, he'd be all over that like white on rice.
I just can't get him. I need to start saying Scooter Squad more often.
Squad. I'll join in on that.
Yes, the Scooter Squad.
We need a wave.
Oh boy.
We should just give each other the finger. Like
that works.
Like as you go by, you're like
Scooter Squad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't. That dude is completely having a blast.
You say, and I love the ending though. He's like, I don't need that negativity in my life.
No,
Scooter Squad.
I like the way he was just like, I blocked him.
So good, man. So good.
This is for our older listeners. For our older listeners, way back in the in the 60s, there was a dude named Big Wilson in Cleveland. And Big Wilson was a disc jockey at WNBC in New York City. He was just kind of, he was a celebrity. And he's from Rocky River. And he was at KIW in Cleveland, KYW. And his big deal is that he ran a thing called Big Wilson's Scooter Safety Patrol. And not joking, I mean, this guy was 6'6" and over 300 pounds. Like, this is a very, very big dude. And if you do the right Google searches, you can actually figure out, like, you can find pictures of him. And he did, he was just an absolute
COVID. It lives.
What's the guy's name?
Big Wilson. So it's Big Wilson. And he died in 1989. But he was on the radio here in Cleveland, and he ran the Big Wilson Scooter Safety Patrol. And yeah, he literally got a lot of press by running this, this scooter club. And he ran a scooter club in Cleveland, and for quite a while. And of course, he had, they would talk about it all the time on the radio show. So he was a local celebrity that was into scooters and promoting scooters. And I mean, I love the fact that they called it like the Scooter Safety Squad, where meanwhile, what they did was they got together and went to bar to bar to bar to bar to bar. Right. I don't think there was any chance he was actually out there endorsing the idea of, safety. I think he was more along the idea of getting people to ride scooters from bar to bar to bar to bar to bar. So that's more than I think what was happening on. Maybe if we have people that listened to our podcast that were in the Cleveland area, they might remember that if they're one generation older than me.
He was born in 1924, died in 1989.
Mm-hmm.
He was, prior to moving to New York City, him and his wife lived in the riverfront home in Rocky River.
Okay.
He moved to KYW AM Radio Cleveland on a scooter, where he was leading radio personality for many years.
Yeah. I mean,
he was the guy.
Yeah, and what's funny is I've had a lot of old customers come into the shop, and we'll talk about. And one guy came in and he had a Big Wilson badge, like he had a badge that said Big Wilson Scooter Safety Squad. So he was like, we all had our old Cushmans and our old Lambrettas and stuff like that, and that's what we did. We rocked out with that guy, and we just drove all over Cleveland as a group.
Well, I like how they said he commuted every day on his scooter.
Yeah. So I mean, we've got Terry Francone, our general manager, of our Cleveland Indians. He does the same thing. So, Tito Francone. So that's cool. So I thought that'd be fun. We could throw that in there. So, Steve, did you find any evidence at all of anything that says that there will be a LiveWire in 2021?
No.
I got nothing, man. I got nothing. Like, their own website shows 2021 of everything, but doesn't show a LiveWire 2021.
I was watching a YouTube video of the guy who owns the East Coast Motorcycle Museum in Connecticut, I think. He was doing this big tour going from Harley-Davidson dealer to all sorts of motorcycle dealerships, I'll say, all across the southern United States. And he did a video where he was in a Harley dealership in Florida, and they had a LiveWire there. But I don't know if it was made of cardboard or paper mache or what.
I mean, there's no shortage of them out there. In fact, right now, there are so many discounted ones. I mean, it's if you do want to buy a LiveWire, it's really a great time to buy a LiveWire because there are many of them that are $7,000 or $8,000 off MSRP. Now, you're not going to get a 2021. It's going to be a 2020, and it's probably going to be brand new with no miles on it and a full factory warranty. So it has become pretty obvious by me looking at Cycle Trader and stuff like that. There's no shortage of available cheap LiveWires. So if you were into the idea of getting one, God, man, there's really a good time to buy one. Let that newness, let the other people pay for that, newness. But yeah, it's really crazy. So I don't want to be the guy that says like there won't be a LiveWire for 2021. But right now, it's like, shit, you'd think your 2021s would be out in showrooms right now because it is 2021, Energica 2021s are out. Zero 2021s are out. Everybody else's 2021s are out. So, that's curious. So weird.
Yeah, and I want to drive over to his house, sneak in there, and stick my finger in his mouth.
That true. but here's the weird part about this LiveWire thing. Like, you can Google, you can do any kind of web search you want for any part of it, and there's no stories. Like, they paid to have this shit scrubbed.
That's what I'm saying. Saying is that, like, they're doing very good internet management or reputation management.
Yeah.
Because it's true. It's absolutely true. And it is a very interesting thing is, meanwhile, totalmotorcycle.com and all these other websites that pride themselves on being in touch with every brand and everything else, and they get all the donor bikes and loaner bikes and everything else that I don't get. What they're saying is they're straight up not, they're either saying, oh, there's no proof that it's being discontinued. But come on, man, the Street 750 is discontinued. The Street Rod is discontinued. The Street Fighter is discontinued. The Roadster's discontinued. The Lowrider's discontinued. The Breakout is discontinued. The 30th anniversary Fat Boy, that's not going to happen.
You know what they need? They need a 300cc bike.
Yeah, they're going to have one next year. It's going to be a 350, John, and it's going to look like an awful lot like the Benelli.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
So they will have one. The Softail Deluxe got canceled. The Softail FXDR got canceled, and the Tri-Glide got canceled. Those we know have all been canceled. Those they've admitted to canceling.
The Tri-Glide got canceled.
I know. Tri-Glide got canceled. Yep, exactly. So that's a big deal, right? It is just very curious that in January, on this release that they did on January 19th, they just didn't say, they specifically ignored the definitive mention of the electric, of the LiveWire. So
of the thing that they were so proud of.
Well, and we all understand. Look, everybody knew that when Harley-Davidson invested big in an electric motorcycle, we were just like, how the fuck can a company that's entire brand identity is on nostalgia, right? I mean, every time Harley tries to do anything that isn't nostalgic, they burn their fingers on it and run away, Buell, And so for them to do something as for them to do anything as aggressive as an electric motorcycle platform, especially a $30,000 electric motorcycle platform, that was, I think everybody was kind of like, wow, holy shit. So, and then you got to get Cletus to ride one, which means you got to have a way to put ape hangers on it and put forward controls on it, and that's not like, that doesn't go with the Harley-Davidson lifestyle.
Loud pipes.
Yes, loud pipes. That's exactly it. We missed that opportunity. We could have taken advantage of that this whole time. So there's that. So does somebody want to call in a SWAT team for Steve's house?
Hold on. I
go over there in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, we've made loud noises. Did you text him?
I'm getting ready to.
Oh, wait. Steve must be doing something because he kind of shook his head like a big old grizzly bear over there.
Well, you can see his breathing. The camera's moving up and down with his breath.
Yes, it is. That's exactly it. Yeah. He must have his he must have his phone or his laptop or something sitting on his chest. That's really, that's all right.
This sitting on his.
Oh, you.
Hey.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow.
Sitting on his chest, unfortunately. I don't know how that happened, but
we just got demonetized. Holy cow.
No.
Wow. It's just crazy the way that person was able to break into our Zoom call.
Yeah, that was nuts. Well,
when those people break into Zoom calls, it is awful. It's things that happen.
Damn you hackers.
When they hijack a Zoom call. Is that the remote for his Lush vibrator?
The Bluetooth app. He's like,
Bluetooth remote for his Lush vibrator. Yeah.
I'm awake.
No,
but you missed most of it.
Yeah.
You superimposed a penis in your mouth.
What else is new?
That was classic, by the way. Thank you. Well done. That was campfire grade shenanigans, and I'm happy to say that we can still do that on Zoom.
On Zoom.
On Zoom. That's great, because that would have happened in real time,
Right.
at a campfire. So well
That'd
done.
be on CNN.
And I'm very excited that you got that, because that was my thinking. I'm like, if this happened around a fire, somebody would
Absolutely happened around a fire.
Yeah.
Tell me something more. So we all know that we were talking about the International Motorcycle Show, the show that we would be at right now.
Right.
So no kidding. Right now, according to my watch, we would be today or tomorrow. We would be at the IX Center, surrounded by tens of thousands of old men, and we'd be standing around old motorcycles that we went around and systematically collected with trailers, and put up a 20 or 30 bike booth at the IX Center. We've been doing that for like 17 or 18 years.
Yeah.
And this weekend, we're not going to do that. This is going to be something that we have been doing for a very, very long time, and we're not doing.
I think the Moto Compo broke the motorcycle show.
I mean, literally, my daughter was, Piper just turned 14.
Yeah.
The weekend she was born, the
That's
next
right.
day, she was
That's
born
right.
on a Friday
Yep.
or born on a Thursday, and I had to go haul bikes to the fucking show the next morning after staying up all night.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. That was the day after Piper was born. Literally, you were doing the VJMC thing.
And last year at the show, there was an inkling something was going on, but not really. It was like conspiracy theory at that point.
Yeah, I didn't think there was anything going on at all. I mean, I traveled a few weeks later to California. We did all kinds of stuff and didn't think anything of it. We had no idea that it was going to be shut down for a year, So there aren't as many motorcycle shows now. One, big surprise. And two, they're supposedly happening outdoors.
Well, but on top of that, so just today to this announcement, what's the big one? And not NSIMA, and what's the one in Europe?
EICMA. EICMA, yeah.
BMW and KTM and somebody else all pulled out of that, and people are joining too.
Man, that's hard. I mean, like EICMA is the monster European show. There's nothing bigger. You can't get a bigger show than EICMA. If you're going to go to a show in Europe, go to fucking EICMA.
Did you see that Mid-Ohio posted its dates?
Christmas?
No, July.
So
Christmas in July.
No. I mean, Mid-Ohio normally runs in July.
Yeah.
Part of July, beginning or ending?
Like
Won't make
20.
any
I'd have
difference.
to look it up, but they announced that they are having Mid-Ohio 2021.
Historically, Mid-Ohio has been the second weekend in July.
Or first?
Or the first, because sometimes it actually does conflict with 4th of July weekend.
Right.
So, it's usually first or second weekend. It sounds like they might be moving it to the third. But, this is that point. Everybody is figuring now that with a vaccine and everything's going to be ramped up and operational by July. Let's hope that's the case, So we were joking about it. Like last year, we were talking about do you think you could do Mid-Ohio and be COVID compliant?
July 23rd through the 25th.
23rd through the 25th are the dates for Mid-Ohio. And I mean, I know that we're going ahead with the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride because you're riding a fucking motorcycle. You're wearing a helmet. We're going to make it happen. It's going to be there, that last Sunday in May. If you're uncomfortable with that, then don't attend by any means. Nobody's going to force you into a small group or a small environment. Everything is going to be big and spread out. Chris brought out an excellent idea. Where did you say we should do the meetup?
At the east end of the I-480 bridge. It's called City View. It's an old collapsing strip shopping plaza that is getting refurbished, but it's got a huge parking lot that they resurfaced. There's a Get-Go gas station right there. There's a Starbucks. There's a Giant Eagle for food and liquor.
Yeah.
There's a Chipotle. And it's huge. And then there's across the street, there's hills. So if people want to go hill climbing, you can climb the hills. And then
do a little urban off-roading.
Yeah. So, the place is gigantic and nobody would care.
Yeah, those businesses are all closed because they built that property on a waste dump, right?
Yeah, landfill. So there's it's close to people coming up from the south, people on the east side. It's a little bit more centrally located. It's basically I-77 and 480.
It's definitely a really good congregation spot, and
it's right by Canal Road and getting down into the parks and all that kind of stuff.
You could have 200 people there, and it wouldn't matter, at all.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah.
Hey, you want to hear a joke? Anybody have an educator that they know of?
Yeah.
So one day in the schoolroom, the teacher asked the class to use the word fascinate in a sentence. So, of course, Molly puts up her hand and says, my family went to my granddad's farm and we saw his pet sheep. I was fascinated. Teacher says, well, that was good, but you used the word fascinated, not fascinate. So then Sally raised her hand and says, my family went to the Grand Canyon and it was fascinating. Again, the teacher says, well, Sally, you didn't use the word fascinate. So little Johnny raises his hand, but the teacher, being a little hesitant on account that she had been burned by little Johnny before, finally decided there's no way for him to damage the word fascinate, so she called on him. Little Johnny says, my Aunt Carolyn has a sweater with 10 buttons, but her tits are so big she can only fascinate.
Nearly killed him. Johnny is on point, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I want Johnny in my class every single time.
Little Johnny.
Little Johnny, man. The heads up, you guys. Moto Go. So our friends over at the Misfits podcast, Liza and the Misfits, they've been doing all these film festivals. And so their latest film festival that they're doing, they're teaming up with Brian Shaffrin and the guys over at Skidmark Garage. They do that Moto Go program where they literally bring shop class to the kids, where they take CB350s, our favorite bike for teaching somebody how to work on bikes. And they take that bike to them, to the kids. And they also have like visible V8 motor models and stuff. So they're teaching children to do the shit that we used to do in what was actually called auto tech, right? That's what I had when I was a kid growing up. We tore apart and rebuilt Volkswagens and made dune buggies, and we tore apart and rebuilt teachers' cars for money, right?
They don't have vocational school anymore. They killed it.
Well, we didn't have vocational school. That was part of our Wycliffe High School public education.
Oh, really?
We had auto shop. So
I did to designate that we were scumbags. And then when you were designated as a scumbag, you got sent to vocation. You
had to go off site.
Yeah.
You had a special bus.
Yep. No, my high school, I went to a rural high school. So we had kids who were in VOAG.
Right.
Vocational ag. So they would take half a day of school. The other half a day, they'd go out on a farm and castrate pigs with their teeth.
Crack an egg. Bet you can't.
I ended up taking academics so I could go to college.
Right.
But then in all my study halls, I filled in with welding and power tech because I liked all that shit too.
Yeah.
So,
and you could keep those goat testicles out of your mouth.
The bite and tuck method.
Man, we didn't have any agricultural based classes at all.
No.
But we were welding shit constantly. And it was very funny because all the teachers' cars got worked on at our auto shop. So at the high school auto shop, that was, Mr. Croft, who ran the thing, he must have had a side hustle going like you wouldn't believe. He'd be like, okay, well,
bring your friends in.
Yeah. We're going to do valves on a Chevy Chevette. And I was like, oh, well, where are we going to get a Chevy Chevette? Oh, well, Mrs. Erickson's got one. It's coming in this afternoon.
Right. We'll take care of your car. It's $200 cash payable to me.
Right, exactly. And
my girlfriend's mom was a guidance counselor. I ended up putting an exhaust on their Volvo, and I did all kinds of rebuilding garden tractors for other teachers. I did everything. And then they made me do putting plugs on fucking overhead projectors and stuff. I was doing all kinds of stuff.
And then they were like, John, if you want that 7 credit hours of sexual education, you need to lick that.
The only reason I graduated high school is because I got A's in welding, power tech, and all my shop classes. And that basically fucking carried me through high school.
Carried me. That was the only way I got out of school was marching band and all of my tech classes. So technical, I was the third level of technical drawing, the highest level you could have of drafting and technical drawing. And then I also had the highest level of auto shop that you could have. And I was in marching band for 4 years. So the fuck with English, the hell with math. I don't need algebra. Are you kidding me? But that's really that's the only way that I got out of high school. It was vocational programs. Yeah. So that was it.
I modified my euphonium during marching band so I could have fires in the bell to keep my hands warm. So I am definitely a goof.
And that's how we know what kind of high school you went to is you had a fucking euphonium. If you marched to euphonium, you went to a posh high school.
No, I didn't. It was Nordonia. I was like, it was horrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Say that really fast. I played my euphonium at Nordonia in the spring.
Dude, it's a fucking public school that hates everyone. It's horrible. It's the most horrible thing in the world, dude. It's not good. There was nothing posh about Nordonia.
No, there's nothing posh about Nordonia. Yeah.
No.
But it does get credit for being extraordinarily white.
And Kevin Moore, Green Fuzz, came from Nordonia, and several other people that we know. So he was my classmate. Thank you very much.
There you go.
All right.
Nick, where did you go to school?
I went to Hoover High School in North Canton, which is very white.
Yep. North Canton.
Dan's like, I went to school with Jesus, so we're all good.
Central High School, La Crosse, Wisconsin.
What year did you graduate, Dan?
1978.
Wow, that's cool.
Do you know how stoned he was? Can you imagine how fucking stoned he was on his graduation day?
Yes, I can.
Can you imagine how stoned somebody would be who graduated in 1978?
Yes.
When did you graduate?
Who, me?
Post-war, right?
I'm 74.
You graduated in 74. Yeah.
I'm still working on it though. I still got a report I got to turn in.
I thought he said he was 74 years old. I was like, holy shit, Chris is old, dude.
It's true. Like, okay, look, we understand. In 1974 in Los Angeles and New York City, it would have been apeshit. But in the Midwest, 1974 was barely getting rolling.
Yeah.
By 78, that's when shit was unhinged.
I can't tell you what 1974 was like, but I can tell you what 1989 was like.
Yep.
And welding class was all about strike an arc and pass the dutchie on the left-hand side.
The problem with 1989 was AIDS had been discovered.
Yeah. No fucky.
Yeah, so in 1987, they hadn't discovered AIDS yet. George Michael was still straight, according to anybody who cared. It was goofy. I mean, it was crazy. And it was very 80s. It was very much like very strange big hair and long sweaters.
And no internet. So in 1989, I was a senior. And the first day of school, I got sent to the principal's office for something. And the ladies in the office were signing admit slips. And they were signing all of them. So they were like pamphlets of admit slips. So good night, pal. So I stole one, and I had this whole pack of like 100 admit slips, right? So my whole senior year, I'd go to class first period, get marked in, and then I'd skip from second to ninth or eighth period, and then come back for ninth. So from second to eighth, I'd miss. But I had those admit slips.
Right.
So first period, I was there. So official thing, you're there, I was there. Second period throughout, I would just hand this admit slip that was already pre-signed saying that I was legally allowed to be gone. And so every teacher would sign it. You had to hand it to the next teacher. But since I made ninth period, eighth period teacher would give it back to me.
Give it back.
Mm-hmm. And then I'd just throw it out. So it got to the point where I was trying to graduate and they were like, Mr. Cinch, you've missed 92 days of school this year. And I was like, no, I didn't. Like, what are you talking about? And the first piece of the thing was like, no, he was here. He was in the thing. I was like, you must have some kind of an error. But yeah, I attended like 25 days of my senior year as a parent by everything that's going on with me right now. But I'm just saying, I gamed the system very well back then.
I can't even imagine going to school or graduating from school in 74 and 78.
Oh, before anything.
When you just think about how ripe the world was for corruption, because there was really, I mean, nobody had an answering machine. If you weren't there to pick up the phone, that phone call didn't happen.
Nope.
It's like, you're going to call my parents? They're both at work.
Yeah. Sorry.
Good luck with that.
I mean, you just knew that there was a certain place that everybody went on Friday night, and you went there too.
I'm just shocked that anybody was. We had a smoking lounge in my high school. Like, we actually had.
Same here.
The middle part of the high school was like a little grassed in area, a little square. And that was the seniors. It was the smoking lounge. But then when I was in school, it officially became the seniors smoking lounge because only the seniors were allowed to smoke. If you weren't a senior, you weren't allowed to smoke.
Wow.
Yeah. How's that, Nick?
How great are you, son?
Well, I'm just realizing that like the middle school that I went to was built in the 40s, and it was originally the North Canton High School, and I'm realizing that it had a central courtyard area that was all had grass and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Our high school bathroom had ashtrays built into the toilets.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah. Johnny, come here. What's wrong? You're smoking Marlboro Reds. Yes. Your mother says you only smoke lights. Please take these cigarettes and throw those out immediately.
I'm going to tell you, I have actually seen teachers bum cigarettes off of students. And that happened. That was real. There was no doubt about it.
I went on Boy Scout bus trips in 73 and 74, and we were allowed to smoke on the bus.
Wow.
Perfect.
So my life kind of changed because of high school teenage smoking. So when I was in band and stuff, and I was in 10th grade and I was a schmuck, and I was instead of having to go to lunch, if you were in band, you could go and practice your instrument, right? So I used to go and read comic books and practice my instrument in the little practice room. And then all the seniors and shit, there was a door like right over here, and they'd all go and sneak out the door and smoke, right? So I was just like an innocent 10th grader, just sitting there doing my thing, whatever. And the teachers were coming. So all these kids started running in real quick and throwing their cigarettes out, right? And this girl that was like super attractive at the time or whatever, put her hand up in the door. And when the kid like slammed the door shut to keep the teachers from seeing, it like popped the top of her finger off, right? So I'm in this room watching this and I'm like, holy fuck, you know? And this girl's squealing and everybody leaves. So I find her finger and I find her and I take them both to the office and I'm like, this popped off and here's her. And they're like, oh, thank you very much, whatever, right? So all the kids that were involved in this didn't want to get busted for smoking. So they all ratted me out and said that I slammed the door shut on this girl or whatever. And so she rolled with it and they did this whole thing. So my parents got sued for like $250,000 for me like slamming this door on this girl, right? And I had to prove that I was practicing and all this. And I guess the lawsuit didn't go through. But she was saying that like...
Did it happen on school property?
Oh, no, it definitely did. But she was...
Then they can't sue you for closing her finger in a door.
Oh, no, that wasn't... She sued for like ruining her modeling career. Okay?
Oh, okay.
You know, she was like a flag girl, you know, she was kind of hot back then, whatever. So time goes on and now Facebook's in place and it's like 25 years later. And I'm like, wow, I get this friend request and I'm like, the girl's name was Lucy something, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, that's the girl that ruined, you know, got me in trouble and all that stuff. I can just say that like the finger was not the problem that caused her to have a bad modeling career.
No.
I'm 227 pounds on a bad day. She's 479 on a bad day now. And
she lost 2 ounces and she spent a lot of time making up for it.
Fucked up thing. I paid for all that. My parents got fucked and everything, but yet in her fat ass pictures, she has all 10 fingers and they're all still fucking there, man.
You saved her goddamn finger to begin with.
Exactly.
That's what I learned. You can't do good things for people. I carried a goddamn dislocated finger and a kid up to a fucking principal's office and I got fucked for it, man.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, man. Fuck that. But whatever, she got hers. She ate like the doctor that saved her at some point.
So I want you to talk me out of buying a BSA Thunderbolt.
Okay. Here's the deal. Which year Thunderbolt? No, it doesn't fucking matter. It honestly doesn't matter. How many Whitworth tools do you own?
It comes with the original toolkit.
No. That's the original toolkit. That's the one that goes under the seat of the bike. How many real Whitworth tools do you own?
It's got to be like a Honda, though. If you have the toolkit, you can fix anything on the bike.
Not even fucking close.
So John, Steve said he's not buying that BMW.
What?
That K bike?
No, it's an airhead. It's a 77 so R100/7.
100, that red one.
It was a really nice bike, but it was too similar to what he already had.
He thought it was an RS, and it's just a /7.
No, it's a /7. Yeah. It's a cool bike.
Well, if it's not good enough for Steve, how is it good enough for me?
He made some excuse. He's waiting for saving himself for some other bike, and he's already got a BMW.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's not here to defend himself.
Yeah.
I'm saving myself for something with fuel injection.
I think that's the smartest play. I would not be getting into a 35-year-old BMW at this point.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if you noticed this, but I have a CB750 over there against the back wall.
Exactly.
Guys, I'm sensing hackers. Hold on, wait. I'm sensing hackers. I don't know what's going. Oh no, we're being
hacked again.
I'm
guys
sorry.
that get in here.
Think of the children.
Oh my God! All right, hold on. I'm breaking through. Okay, I stopped him. Okay.
The thing is, that penis looks so crummy. It's good.
When people
no YouTube this episode, eh?
When people hijack these things, it's really unfair to the people who are trying to run a normal podcast.
It's terrible. I can't believe they allow this to happen.
I know, and you just don't expect. You just don't think that people are going to jump in and just put sausage all over us.
It's probably the same people who bought all that the GameStop stock.
Yeah, right.
Those assholes.
What's John doing over there?
It looks like somebody tried to short Steve's stock. Yeah. It's not great for Steve at this point. The outlook is not. Yeah, his investment holdings are not looking good right now. He might be getting dicked. But it's so hard when he's right there. I mean, I just want to throw shit at him. It's like okay.
Now that I learned that you can move the boxes around, I want to move Steve over so when you're throwing that, it's actually hitting him.
we could put him in center square or put him above me.
He is in my screen. He's above you, so whatever you throw up,
I gotta throw it right at him.
Oh, that was good. Yeah.
That's it.
John's trying to call him. Nothing's happening.
It's yeah. You know what? He's fucking hibernating. So that's all there is to it.
We have to send a stripper to him someday, and by that I mean, not from like Christie's.
Send a stripper to me.
His breath still stinks from the 2 possums he ate for dinner. So
next Tuesday is my 50th birthday. I'm getting fucked.
When?
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, you're like 2 months before me. Mine's May or 3 months, so we're close.
Yeah, I did nothing for my COVID birthday, and like fucking nothing. It's done. COVID's
You can't even go to a strip club, can you?
No.
You're sleeping
Anybody get their COVID shot yet?
on a podcast.
My wife did. My wife got one half of her COVID stuff because she works at Case.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're
Good.
talking on him. Steve, wake up, you. Put the picture up.
We're just
Put the picture up.
these people have been hacking into our podcast.
We keep
We got
having
a hacker.
Yeah, we got a hacker keeps breaking into our
I
podcast.
saw a spider crawl into your mouth.
Oh man, people are hijacking our podcast.
Oh no!
Oh no, my God. It's like Nature Channel. It's that albino anaconda.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, it's Lakewood. If you drop your keys, you better kick them into Cleveland before you bend over
Try to pick them up. Oh,
That's what happens on Steve's porch all the time. That's why they have those shades. They can draw the shade so just random dicks don't fly into their porch.
Just randomly. People put on their windshield washer fluid and just dicks come out. It is Lakewood, man. It's just, I've been to parades in Lakewood and just dicks just bouncing off your face. It's crazy. Yeah. That was the dog parade. That was
Grumpy tour guy, say something. Hello?
nothing.
This sleeping parade, though, is fucking dope.
Ground control to Major Steve.
Sleeps like a fucking sailor. I mean, honestly, he's awake for 9 seconds and out again.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
How is this camera moving?
Somebody get over there and steal his kidney.
He's breathing. It's moving up and down with his breath.
I think his laptop's
smiling.
His wiener, and he's having a dream. Moving up and down.
He's just ignoring us.
Did you say something? Podcast is keeping me awake. I can't even say it's keeping me awake because it's not.
Right.
Put the picture back up. Put the picture back up. Oh no, hackers again.
Oh man, I hate it.
It's too late. It's too late.
Get our podcast hijacked. These Zoom calls are getting hijacked all the time now, and that's the thing is you can't like have a family Zoom call anymore.
Oh,
That's got to be the Russians. I'm telling you, that's the Russians.
That was definitely the Russian.
That's not a Nigerian.
Oh,
That's a Russian. Yeah, that might be you. You know what? It's probably the Ukrainians. I'm
it
guessing.
did look pale and cold. I'll give it that. That's definitely what it looked like.
Well, you know, probably Jewish though.
He's back out.
he's asleep.
Definitely. That's definitely.
He said recently, "You have the worst job in the world." I'm like, I'm not a mohel.
Oh man. So now are we? I mean, there's honestly we tried to start talking about motorcycle shows, but there's nothing. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but they just had the AIM Expo. The AIM Expo like just happened last weekend. I don't know if you guys attended. You didn't? No. It's because it was all online and it was 100% online. It was all done. There was like seminars and stuff like that. And I did attend some of the seminars, but you know, just like this, you know, I just logged in and they threw PowerPoints up on my laptop.
Oh God, I had an online job interview and it was fucking hilarious. One fucking guy was sitting there with a goddamn cap on and glasses, fucking sleeping through the whole fucking interview.
At least you got to do the interview and you weren't cut off.
Cut off. Oh, poor Steve. Poor Steve.
Man. Yeah, that is terrible. That's awful.
Oh, I know your hopes and dreams were hanging on that a little bit.
I will continue to make videos about pipe insulation for a long time.
For a long time. Let's
be realistic. The chances are that I'm not going to last very long, so you never know.
Oh, no, I think quite the contrary. I think you're set. Believe me, I think you're set.
There might be a job opening with the city of Cleveland if you want to try to get in on that.
No way.
I'll give you a strong reference if you don't mind a hostile work environment.
Right.
Well, I'm already there. I have that. Well, I mean,
but think of all the benefits, though. I mean, you get like the benefit package for the city of Cleveland is amazing. You know,
true.
Yeah, that part of it's great. But the downside is you got to work with. You know,
we had a question through Moto Stories about the podcast, asking whether or not people had to serve jail time or deal with all the fire department that came to Steve's house. Yeah. But of course, Steve is passed out now, so we can't actually ask him to answer the question on whether or not he had any other contact with.
What do you have to say about that, Steve? What do you have to say about that? Steve?
I paid him off. It was no big deal. What?
The amazing thing was I was like, okay, well, I really want to buy some property. I need to buy some property. So I was like, well, let's just buy that. And then, of course, then that property's already tainted, you know? So it's like that property has a strike against it. Right. So you can't buy that property because the next time you do anything, you're already on your second strike. You don't even get a free pass with that property, right? You know? You buy that property, the fire department already knows where the fuck it is. They'll be talking about
Merritt have to say? What did Merritt have to say about all that?
Oh, we took it. Merritt went out. We walked so many different properties, so many different things that we were kind of considering. And it was really funny because it was like, we kind of got out to Steve's place. And if he didn't have a buyer for the other one, right, it'd be really cool to just get them both and moosh them together and have just a playground, because the third property over, he has no interest in ever doing anything with that. So we would have like a 13 or 14 acre off-road park.
In fact, the only reason he wants to keep that is so nothing ever happens with it.
Exactly. So you buy the 3 in a row, you get the 2 in a row, you get the third one for free, and it all butts up to Steve's job, to the treatment facility. And it's a really nice hill that goes down to the creek. It's really kind of badass. Yeah. And the guy that's next door does nothing but cut wood 24 hours a day. That dude makes more noise. He's got all the heavy equipment. He lives for molesting tree carcasses. That's all the dude fucking does.
You have to admit, because I wasn't even there for the big fire. I was there for the medium fire. And he was biting his nails the whole time, watching flames like kind of slowly kind of come toward his giant pile of wood. He's like, hey, dude, if you pick this up, you're going to take down my whole fucking work.
Oh, man. But the more that I looked at that, I was like, well, yeah, if we can put those 3,
don't let us keep you awake, Steve.
You have to get up early tomorrow, and you're going to be splitting wood at work.
Blah, 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 blah.
I have a feeling that the boss-friend relationship is going to merge a lot in that situation. He's like, hey, John, instead of fucking dealing with the UV for the water, go fix the fucking wiring on the BMW in the top garage.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think it's going to turn into a whole thing of side projects. It's all going to turn into, it's like, okay, well, today we absolutely have to do this work that we have to do.
He was trying to explain this government work to me, and I wasn't quite understanding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. Anybody who's ever had a job where they had to work a shift where you're like, I could bring a motor in and rebuild a motor while I'm on the clock because I'm going to be in a small booth and nobody's going to know what I'm up to. Anybody who's ever had one of those kinds of jobs will know that there are certain jobs where it's like, what you have to do, and you have 8 or 10 or 12 hours to do it. And the decision is like, do you do it on the front end and risk somebody coming in and realizing that you've done the work already, even though there's 8 or 10 hours left in the shift? Or do you save that work until the very, very tail end, but risk getting caught working on your side projects on the front end?
Do it first.
Yep, exactly. Do it first.
Yeah. Do all your job. No, do your job first.
Yeah, do your job first.
Everything's done. So
do your job first. Get it out of the way, so you can be like, "What are you complaining about? I did the thing you're paying me to do." Right. Don't be mad at me because you budgeted the time for this job incorrectly. Yeah.
I worked for Euclid, my first job, and our saying was rake the rags, skim the grease, pump to Lakewood, put it in the log. Those are the 4 jobs you had to do for 12 hours.
Those jobs got done.
Yeah.
Everything else is fair game. Yeah. Yeah, that's a totally different thing. I honestly think that the 2 of you guys working together is going to be magical. Yeah. Well, the first thing I talked to Kevin, like the first time I met Kevin Morin, Kevin had made the connection that he'd also worked for Steve. So when Kevin had made the connection that he'd worked for Steve, he was like, "Oh shit, yeah, he's a really, really good guy. He's like the only boss I've ever worked for that I really honestly respected." And I was like, "Wow, that's."
I don't know about that.
Well, there's no chance of this happening.
Well, I did say that because of Steve, I did go out to look at a barn, and I looked at a barn that was a party center and then was a bar. Now, what the hell is the deal with apparently they were delivering drinks in go-karts?
Right. They had the waitresses would ride around go-karts and drop off your drink. It's a massive space.
It sounds impossible, but I'm telling you, this barn is so fucking gundic. The barn, the main part of the barn is a 40-some foot ceiling, and it goes all the way up, and it's a giant dance floor. The downside was somebody had made it into a party center by leaving all the old barn wood on the outside and then just like putting plastic or Celotex or, you know, some kind of thing on the inside. And all the moisture had accumulated and caused everything to become bad. Like everything, like all the wood on the barn is rotting out from the inside.
You posted your pictures, but you're like, you'd like to see what it looked like.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the same building. Like,
no, it was terrible. It was so bad. And like John had said, you know, barns aren't built watertight like a submarine because they got to let air get in there so that everything doesn't catch on fire due to combustion, you know?
Spontaneous combustion.
Yeah, so that makes perfect sense that barns would have to be a little bit airy. But this thing was a fucking mess. Like there were 200 places where I could have put my fist through a big hole where 4 boards used to meet up. But it had its own sewage plant, which I thought was interesting. So like it had its own sewage facility that, you know, took care of the poop.
For $600 a month, we could take care of that for you.
There you go.
All of a sudden it's we.
But I thought it was funny when we were in New York riding mini bikes at Steve's fucking, cabin, right?
Yeah.
We made it out when we all ran out of gas, but we made it to the fucking brewery.
Yeah.
We got there. It took about 30 minutes or 20 minutes us to mingle around until the owner of the brewery came to talk to Steve about his shit plant that was part of the brewery. And so Steve's like, hey, did you get this going? Oh, yeah, I added this and that. Thank you so much for your info. So This motherfucker's like 10 hours away from home, and he's still fucking giving information to people how to run their shit plants. It was
The problem with this barn is the shit plant. The wastewater treatment aspect of this barn was the best part of it by far. And the cool thing was they had these old ceramic tile silos. So they weren't just brick. They were these cool hollow ceramic tiles that went all the way up some like 45 feet. And these 2 silos were badass. And the bathrooms were in the silos. So when you're dropping a deuce, you look straight up and it's like 50 feet straight up into this silo. They never bothered. I was like, when Steve said that the bathrooms were in the silos, I figured that on the ground floor, there'd be bathrooms in the silos, and then they'd be silos, you know, bathrooms on top of those. In Akron, there's the Quaker Square, right? Mm-hmm. And Quaker Square is like all of this thing that used to be the Quaker Oats factory. Mm-hmm. And what they did was they took this Quaker Oats thing and they turned it into a shopping mall or shopping center when I was a child. And they turned all those vertical silos into hotel. They became hotel rooms.
Right.
And pretty cool, all curved windows, and they're all hotel rooms. This, they didn't do the multi-layer thing. It was just the bottom level was where you shit, and then everything else was just vaporization all the way up.
I bet it echoes in there.
It was insane. The noise moved around in those giant ceramic silos. Crazy. And I can only imagine, like, you could fly a model helicopter while you're dropping a deuce. And no problem. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do when you have 50 feet over your head. But from a building standpoint, like the idea of us moving into it and using it, I don't think there's a way on God's green earth that you could heat the thing. I just don't think there's a way you could heat it in its current configuration. I think the best advice for heating it would be to start 4 fires in all 4 corners, and it'll get really warm.
Viking style. And then you'd have to do the Viking.
Yeah, that's it. Because if you spent $200,000 fixing this building, you'd have a $200,000 building. So yeah, it wasn't really where I was.
You'd have to use an amazing amount of expanded spray foam to spray the entire inside of it.
Yeah, you would need an actual 18-wheeler to show up, full of just spray foam.
Part A, you'd have 18-wheeler 1 would be part A. The other one would be part B. They would mix and spray.
And you could stand on the floor of the barn with a fire hose and just shoot expanding foam over the entire inside. And it would just squirt out through the boards on the outside. Just shave that off and paint the fucker. Yeah. Too bad. But anyway, it would have been fun. The location was good and everything else about it was really cool. Fun property. There's one I'm looking at now that is in Sheffield, and it's a elementary school. and it's 20,000 square feet. But it's got a gymnasium. It's a elementary school. It has 10 classrooms. It was built in 1960 or 1950. And it's got 2 soccer fields in the back. So I'm going to go look at that.
Good. Now, who's selling that? Because remember that property I looked at in wherever it was, like the Church of the Latter-day Saints?
Oh, the bunker, the giant, the one we all met at?
Right.
There's a church in Lorraine on East or West 25th Street or East 25th Street in Lorraine that's about a 10,000 square foot little square bunker, and that's all it is. It's just they call it a church, but it's just clearly an industrial warehouse building that's being sold right now. The downside is it's in Lorraine. I mean, like, it's in an area where the building is not allowed to have any windows. You know,
it's like a war zone, though.
It's really, really awful.
Are literally a war zone.
Yeah, so I'm not going to get into that. I mean, even the building there's nothing wrong with the building, but it's just I don't need to be there, and I don't need to have anything I own there. So
no, the one in Sheffield. My point was the one in Sheffield.
Mm-hmm.
The building that I looked at was.
Is this still a podcast?
Yeah,
are we podcasting?
I'm saying that the people that sold that were selling the building, the Latter-day Saints or the whatever, not the Latter-day Saints, the Seventh-day Adventists.
Okay.
Were selling that because they had bought a school in Sheffield.
Oh, that might be the same property. The one I looked at was listed currently on whatever the commercial property website is. But anyway, interesting thing though, we do know that Ducati recently had a strange event happened for them in their United States operations. Ducati got served with a knock on the door, and apparently everybody got arrested. So Ducati North America may have some openings. It's like, don't know what's going to happen with this. I guess it was something along the lines of fraud. One of the people that I know in the industry told me it was warranty fraud. So I don't know what's going on with that. I can tell you that when you're dealing with new vehicles, some people don't register the warranties right away, so they can defraud the flooring companies and keep money without having to pay it off until.
Oh my God, that's horrible. That's extremely unethical. I would never. Condone doing that.
It is incredible. What's funny is we're the opposite. We actually pay our shit off early. So I'm so tight that I won't pay 1 day of interest. So when my bikes get to the end of their 90 days or 120 days or whatever that's interest free, I pay them off like lightning. My vendors get pissed off because they don't get any interest money from me. But there are other people that will literally sell a bike and continue paying interest on it so they don't have to pay the principal, right? So they'll continue to pay interest on the flooring for months and months and months after the bike has actually been sold. But meanwhile, the customer's driving around on a bike that hasn't had the warranty activated yet. That could be cool, other than that sometimes customers go into a dealership that didn't sell them the bike and say, hey, I got a warranty problem. And I type their VIN number into the computer. I'm like, well, your warranty hasn't been activated yet. When did you buy your bike? And they're like, oh, like 6 months ago. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you, but you have a 2-year warranty from, I guess, as soon as somebody activates your warranty.
So in that case, if they don't pay off the principal, and they go out of business, do you still own the bike?
That's an excellent question, and it's a big freaking problem, because if that bike is supposed to be picked up, because that bike is still being shown as unsold on the dealer's floor, and the dealer sold the bike out, and the bike is gone. And if the dealer really goes super duper out of business, or he gets hit by a falling piece of frozen poo from Skylab or something and dies, then there might be a situation where a customer may, in good faith, be riding around on a bike and have the title for the bike, but the guy never paid it off. And so if the guy didn't pay it off, I think what's going to happen is I think that the creditor, like Wells Fargo, is going to have to sue the dealership to get that bike paid for, because the customer operated in good faith. The customer has an MCO. That MCO got turned into a title, and they have a title in their name.
Right.
So I think the customer's totally in the clear on this one, but I think the dealership is, well, he's participated in criminal activity. So
because you don't buy title insurance on a vehicle,
like
a house. Like when you buy a property, you get title insurance so that if something like that had happened, even 10 owners in the past, you're still made whole. So
I have been to modern motorcycle and car dealerships where part of the sales process is they sell you gap insurance and they sell you title insurance and they sell you insurance and they sell you, Gremlin Bell insurance. And that's a way they add things onto the sale of the bike. But you're right. When you buy a house or a property, you do buy title insurance. Yeah. So that's why, because you don't want to be on the receiving end of somebody else's skullduggery, Right. So it's a thing. But yeah, be aware of that. There's that. Well, so I don't know what's going to happen with. Dude, I have no idea what's going to happen with Ducati, but right now I'm pretty sure that our dealer in Akron, so Northern Ohio Ducati, that is no longer Northern Ohio Ducati, I'm sure they're pretty thrilled right now to not be holding the keys to that. That would be a shitty position to be in. So really hard to sell bikes when the people you buy the bikes from are under lock and key federally. So,
well, speaking of not holding the keys to something,
yeah.
I was going to buy R100/7 today. And for the first time in my life, I walked away from a deal. And I came home with a trailer full of wood.
I noticed that. I was like, okay, so I thought he was going to buy a motorcycle, but you came back with a trailer full of square, flat objects.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a really nice bike. The guy was super nice.
But the wood was nice.
Just when I had an idea of what the bike was when I went there, and there was nothing wrong with it. I mean, it's going to make somebody it's an awesome bike,
right?
But like for me, when I went through the whole thing, it was like, well, do I want a /7 or do I want to really stick with a /? Like I have a /6. I have an R75 and Dan's got an R90,
right?
/6. But I mean, the 6s just have more personality and they do everything the 7 will do,
right?
But only with more style.
Okay, yeah.
And then so I'm like, well, I should just buy another /6,
right?
But then I thought I should just buy one of those new ST125s. Well, so as soon as I left his house, oh, come on now. I'm never falling asleep again.
I don't believe that for 1 minute.
Well, you'll see me asleep tomorrow for sure.
I love I love the fact that there has now become a punishment involved with falling asleep on this podcast. Chris Smith just got a whole lot more awake.
You get dick-faced.
I got 4 ready for him too, man.
He's putting toothpicks under his eyelids.
Let's just say it involves a Janus.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
Oh boy. So I think that R100 was a beautiful bike. Don't get me wrong. I think everything about it was totally fine. And that is from that era when they were doing like the bike was red, but like the edges of it were kind of like fogged in a little bit, so the paint jobs were kind of badass. But was that a 78, 77? Yeah.
The only BMW I've ever wanted was a toaster tank /5.
Yeah.
That's exciting for me, but no.
I'd still love a Paris Dakar, like the original, like what is that? The R100 or whatever the before.
I think the one R100 GS
and R80s too. Yeah. So the R80 GSs and stuff, they're beautiful.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, he replaced that bike with a 2004 R1150 RT.
Okay.
Which I have one too.
Right. Fine. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's a great bike. You're not going to have a problem with that, except don't lug it in 6th gear or you won't have a drive shaft left.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, we've all kind of learned about those oil heads. There's things like the sight glass. Sometimes the sight glass will pop out, and so will all of your oil. So if the sight glass pops out, you'll know because your foot will get really hot, really warm.
Really quick.
And usually it does pop out after you just like gun the shit out of it. So like if you gun the crap out of the bike, it's a decent idea to look down after you do it to make sure that you aren't just spraying oil all over your boot and your leg and shit. I've had 2 of those sight glasses pop out. So it clearly fucking happens. And then, of course, what Steve's talking about is they all have a problem with the final drive. That's a known issue with the final drive. But there's also a problem with the drive shaft. And that is that there is a cush drive, basically a big rubber sausage that goes between the drive shaft and the output of the motorcycle. And it's bonded. It's literally bonded together to absorb the shock. And what happens is that comes loose. That becomes no longer hooked up. And so you'll think that your clutch is shot. You'll think that something's going on. You'll let the clutch out and the motor will rev up, but the bike won't go anywhere. And the first couple of times it'll slip a little and you will be able to pull away, which is literally just that shaft spinning inside of that cush drive, that big rubber block. And that when that happens, it's the same exact repair to fix that. You have to go to all the same dark and ugly places as you do to fix the final drive problem. So the idea is if you're going after the final drive problem at 40,000 to 60,000 miles or so, if you're going there, do the cush drive at the same time. And if you're going after the cush drive failure, do the final drive problem at the same time. So then at least you're hoping to buy yourself, another 30 or 40,000 miles.
That's what anything with the BMW guys, everything I've ever heard is like if anything happens with the clutch or anything you just mentioned and you have to split the bike, you do all those things.
Yes, absolutely. I've had them leak out at the main seal. So at the back, at the output shaft of the motor, I've had the main seal leak and then get oil all over the clutch face. So that the pressure plate gets oily and it won't grab. And guess what? When you do that job, you also do the final drive. It's so hilarious, but it's just like brushing without flossing. It's the weirdest thing, except we're talking about like a $1,300 to $2,300 job. So it can make owning a 30,000 mile old BMW into a very expensive undertaking.
Right.
And it is, it's, and because I've owned 4 or 5 of them, but I've had to do that job and pay for that job on 2 of them. So that's cool. So that's good.
We have a really late night edition.
Look at this. Look at that. Oh my God. Well, we don't have video yet, but I heard his voice. I heard him cackle.
I did cackle.
I heard the sound of Dustin Elliott. My God, man.
I don't know why you don't have video yet.
There's look for the video mute button on your thing.
Holy fuck, it's the ghost of Dustin Elliott.
It is. I mean, we can see that he's identified as Dustin. Yes. That's right. That's fantastic.
Hey, there we go.
Hey. Oh, that beard. Oh my God, look at that beard. That thing.
Another beardo.
Oh, Dustin, you made it. You made it, buddy.
I did. Chris Smith's been texting me for like the past hour and a half or 2 hours.
Fantastic.
Get your ass on the podcast.
Well, I got my ass here and the rest of me.
Yeah, boy.
You guys.
And on that note, drive fast and take chances.
You guys remember we used to do the podcast in Dustin's basement. That's how the whole thing got started, was in his studio. And when he was living over in the 45s, which is our very high end neighborhood here in Avon Lake. That's where the wealthy live. The 45s.
Yeah, right.
It's the very upper crust of the lower crust. But what's funny now is Dustin has moved to the other part of Avon Lake, and so between Dustin's house and my house, we have a forest. So there's actually a forest, a woods between our houses. And so I walk in the woods all the time, and apparently Dustin walks in the woods all the times too. And a little while ago, we were both walking on like a perfect, beautiful, winter day, and I'm looking down the path, and I'm like, I think that's Dustin. And it was cold as fuck. I mean, it's like we're all bundled up. But I was like, holy shit. I didn't even think that with your new house that you literally live on the other side of the woods from me.
Quick question.
Yeah, right.
Were you coming up behind him or?
No, it was like face to face. It was kind of like a square off. Like,
you know what? We had a lot of time to think about it. We really did. Like, we saw each other approaching each other, and I'm sure there was this math going on. Like, I think that's Dustin. And you just like build that case. Like, it is Dustin. That was really cool. Yeah.
tis I.
Everyone else I've run into in that woods is just wanted to give me candy. That's it.
You're lucky you have woods because Bucky hasn't turned it into cardboard houses yet.
No, you know what? The story about those woods is it was supposed to be a neighborhood. And I haven't dug up the reason why it never was. But if you look along some of those paths, there's still sidewalks.
Yep.
Like trees grow through, you'll see a sidewalk, concrete slab just poking up around a tree.
I guess a family.
Avondale? Is that Avondale?
No, it's like Armor.
Yeah. It's right at the end of my street. Yeah. And it's literally the family bought the property, and they bought all that property and specifically worked with the Lorain County Metro Parks to make sure that it would never be developed. So we have a forest in the middle of our town.
Well, that's nice.
It's cool. The deer love it. We have billions of deer.
Oh, and the turkeys.
Yeah, that's so weird. Like full-size, legit Tennessee-sized turkeys. Yeah. So cool, man. So Dustin, what are you up to these days?
Working a lot. That's about it.
So tell the guys about the job that you've happened yourself into now that you're no longer putting parts in boxes for KTM.
Yeah, right. Well, it's over 2 years ago now.
Right. Yeah.
I started with a company as a contractor for AT&T doing line work, and have progressed over the past 2 years. I'm officially a journeyman lineman now.
Oh, nice.
And I go out and I set a lot of telephone poles, run a lot of fiber, do a lot of emergency jobs. I'm on call 24 hours a day sometimes. Like this Sunday, I'm on call all 24 hours a day of Sunday.
And those are the full-size, 100% full-scale Tonka trucks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got my CDL. I drive the big bucket trucks.
Yeah.
The pole digger that we use, big auger. It's a digger derrick. It's got a giant auger on it and then a big crane to grab the pole and set it in the ground.
I'm going to be the journalist that goes for the gut punch question.
Yep.
How's your sobriety doing?
Oh, going on almost 3 years.
Cool, man. Glad to hear that.
Good job. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it'll be 3 years in May, so I still got like 4 months to go here.
That's fantastic.
I think I'll make it.
I think you will. You know what?
With your guys' help.
Do not, please.
Here's to your sobriety.
Right.
I gotta scroll so I can see everyone here. Hey, there's McElfresh.
It would literally be one AMA Vintage Days that could fuck that all up.
Well, no, I was about 3 months sober. Went to AMA Vintage Days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Johnny Mac and Johnny Chrome and everyone, they had my back. They're like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's one of those things is like, I wouldn't even begin to start to understand. I got my alcohol problem out of the way when I was still like 19 years old. That was when the Army told me that I was very bad at drinking and I wasn't allowed to do it anymore. And so, yeah, that was a tough time. And with the way coronavirus has been, with the coronavirus taking away all the bars, taking away all the things to go drink, it's amazing how very little drinking I do now that we're not allowed to have the podcast in person.
Yeah.
So Ohio's gone up 19% in alcohol sales.
In alcohol sales?
Yep.
Even though the bars are closed.
Over in the last year, it's gone up 19%.
Giant Eagle has got to be loving that.
I'm good for 4% of that, Steve.
Well, this is.
I'm good for less than 0.5%.
Exactly.
That's what they print on non-alcoholic beer. Made less than
You'd have to drink so many of those.
I've done the math and determined that it's absolutely impossible to even. Like people are like, "Ooh, aren't you worried that has a little bit of alcohol in it?" I'm like, okay, do the math. A Budweiser, 6%.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, right. So you'd have to drink 12 NA beers,
right?
One beer, in rapid enough succession that you would drink one Budweiser, but you would have 12 times the volume of fluid in your system.
Right. Your bladder holds like 18, 22 ounces top.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Is non-alcohol liquor like 20 proof?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. So we did talk about, Dustin. We talked about that we are going to do a distinguished gentleman's ride this year. And
I know. I'm excited.
So excited about that. And
what are you riding right now? Do you still have a bike? What bikes are you riding?
Yeah, still ride my DRZ.
Yep. So
changing it up this season. I don't know. I'll have to come talk to Phil.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff roaming around right now. So we have so many bikes just floating around the shop at the moment. And but yeah, for the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, I'm so excited about having a thing on the schedule. Having anything on the schedule is one thing, but to not have to wait until the end of freaking, September or October to do the DGR.
I was so happy to move it to May because it's a much better month.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. I'm so happy. I think it's going to be great. I really do love it. So yeah, I'm excited about it. Really. And then honestly, if we are going to talk about Mid-Ohio being even potentially a thing, if Mid-Ohio is going to happen and Mid-Ohio is going to be at the end of July, let's everybody behave and see if we can make sure that happens. Because I remember back in June, we were saying if we all behave, we could save Halloween, and that didn't happen. We didn't save Halloween. So, yeah. So I'd really love it. I'd love it if there's a Mid-Ohio. That would just be so cool.
Oh, I really miss seeing all the old white men roaming around in all the mud, and I didn't realize how much that meant to me.
Once a week, we will let an old white man into my shop just to browse, just so we can be reminded of the before times.
And it's not Chris Smith.
No, it's not Chris Smith.
Well, you've left your anus at his shop, so he's already stuck with you forever.
He can come and visit his anus, so that's fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally cool.
I just sucked for 2020 because I finally got vacation time. I was all like, yes, I'm saving it all for Mid-Ohio. And nope, there's no Mid-Ohio.
I hope you can carry that vacation over.
No, I had to use it, but now I have twice as much vacation time because I got my second year. So even better.
That does suck for people who got to spend down their vacation this year. If you got to spend down your vacation this year, this is the worst year to have to spend down vacation.
I just got 3 weeks. I just got 3 weeks, and I was going to carry over a week. Mm-hmm. Then this new job fucked me.
Lost all your vacation because you went to work for Steve.
Yeah, I heard your boss is a dick, though, man. That's the problem.
Don't even get me started.
Here's a real shit shoveler.
No, I don't have to do that anymore. I have John to do it.
Oh, that's great. It's cool when you can hire in somebody else to do the grunt work. That's great.
I'm too old for this. I'm going to age discrimination.
Starting a new career in the waste management services.
Let's call Rand and see what he has to say about this.
I don't think I can handle it. I just don't think I can do it. I can't take it. I swear to God, I just can't take it. Yeah.
If you don't know, Rand is a gentleman from the left coast.
Yeah.
He called in. He was one of our Patreons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And he was blowing up the Patreon phone at 4 a.m. after drinking strobe.
And the problem is because he's in Oregon, so because he's in freaking Oregon, anytime he calls us, it's like 4 hours later here. So, so by the time he gets a good head of liquor, at midnight or 1 o'clock, that's when I'm going to bed at 4 or 5 o'clock, So I'm trying to fall asleep. I got like 4 hours until I wake up, and my phone is blowing up. And it's all just messages from Rand, but Rand will Rand is on point. He stays on topic, and he will lay out like 36 text messages in a row when he's loaded. And so we used to have this thing called drunk dialing, and now it has literally turned into Rand. So it's just, boom, 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 boom. It's just like, and direct, very fast, rapid fire. And I will sometimes play along and be like, yeah, and I'll respond. But then I realize, oh crap, I've actually now entered in a dialogue, but one of us has to punch out right now because I need to go to sleep. And just got him wound up. So he's just right at the point of being into it. So
kind of like Chris Smith trying to get me on this podcast.
Hey, it worked. It worked, baby.
It did.
We're happy to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys too.
Dustin, have you watched Shane's video?
Think for yourself, Chris.
No, I have not watched that yet. I keep meaning to.
So one of our OG guys, obviously Shane Post. Shane Post is in a movie called Melvin and the Microphone.
Yeah.
And it's an award-winning movie. It's an award-winning independent film. And it is on YouTube now. So for any of you guys who are podcast listeners and remember Shane is in the movie, and you get to see Shane in his, let's just call it metal music triumph that is Melvin and the Microphone. Yeah. So it's all about, being a metal musician and a magic microphone. So you got to check it out. Go on the YouTube and watch that video. It's fucking hilarious. And this is something I had no idea Shane was involved in this. So when I found out about it, I was like, what do you mean you were in a movie? Like, you're a mechanic.
You didn't know about that?
What's that?
You didn't know about it at all?
I didn't know about it when it was happening.
Oh, wow.
I didn't find out about it until it was over, until it was all done and there was nothing anybody could do about it. So, when I see Shane, I see a guy who works on cars all the time and then has a family of at least 19 women.
All women.
All women.
Even the dog.
Yes. There's one dick in his entire house.
Well, two, him and Mario, the cat. The one cat.
Okay, I forget. So that's it. And again, so the fact that he was in that movie is just awesome. It's so cool. Yeah, really neat.
Yeah, it did really well. That's another it's a high school buddy of Shane's, Chris Youngless, who moved out to LA years ago, who works for Blur. His boss directed the first Deadpool movie.
Oh, geez.
And did all the special effects for it. So Chris worked on some of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got a chance to do his own film that he wrote and directed and everything. And our friend Robin O'Rourke is the devil in it, too.
It's true. That's absolutely right.
Yeah, you've met Robin.
Absolutely. It's really cool. So you guys got to check it out. It's a lot of fun. And it's fun anytime you can see a stupid, crazy movie like this one, but then also to know the people that are involved in it is really great. That's cool. We don't produce anything of that high quality. Steve's over here trying to get me to stay on target with Stefan to do a stupid, our version of entertainment. But
I just watched the one today.
Oh, you did? Was it the Mods versus Rockers one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Believe me, Steve and Fernando are fucking geniuses because we are not easy to work with.
I had to cut a little bit of stuff out when he was. I didn't know Steph was going to consume most of his inventory before we arrived to shoot, which was interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say he seemed a little bit
loaded.
Yeah,
loaded.
When we got there, we're setting up. He's like, "Do you want a drink?" I'm like, "I have a lot of things to set up, but I think you're okay. You're good."
The problem with that is, of course, you're at Porco. And so you're at Porco, so the walls are literally covered in booze.
Yeah.
And you guys had 9,000 cables to hook up.
Yeah.
The amount of rigging that you guys had to do and the amount of setup that you guys had to do. Yeah, it would be a bad idea to do the drinking first and the shooting later. Yeah. Just a bad idea. Well, instead, we shot everything and then we started drinking weird shit.
Yeah, but he started for us before we
did.
Got there.
Yeah. So yeah,
he's pre-gaming.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He hold it down. So, but yeah, super funny shooting at the Porco. So,
hey, you guys had me look something up before.
Yeah.
And I think Dan, are you ready to talk about something? Because this is
the XZ-550.
I'm going to go pee. I'll be back.
Oh yeah.
Dan had brought this guy up before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one for sale for like $2,200, and now it's disappeared. The auction wasn't supposed to be over yet.
Okay.
Not sure what happened.
So were you into it or what? Like, this is kind of a cool looking bike. What is it?
Yeah, and it was one that actually has a fairing on it that I thought it looks a little better, I think, with the fairing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's interesting though that it's a V twin. I didn't even know this existed with the V twin.
Scroll back down. What are those shoes over on the right there?
Oh, that's bang good. You want to stay away from that.
Yeah.
What is interesting about it is, it's a V twin, right?
Yeah.
But it's a 4-valve. It's a 4-valve V twin, and it has double exhaust valves. So it has multiple headers, 550 cc's with a whopping 65 horsepowers. So
And it's shaft drive.
yeah, shaft drive. There's a lot going on in this bike, man. There's a whole lot going on in this bike, and they're kind of cool. They're weird looking. They have that Seika look gas tank.
Yeah.
But that V twin is just so weird. Motor's part of the frame. It's a weird bike. Yeah.
That's change drive, isn't it?
Shaft, isn't it?
Shaft.
Yeah,
Shaft. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Some of those I thought were actually chain drive, and they were pretty good for cafe conversions because you really wouldn't want to do the
So
shaft.
that was the 9. So the Yamaha XV, the Yamaha 920 is a bike that people love to take apart and make cafe bikes out of because it's just a big torque V twin. But this is this weird little 550 V twin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's.
So that's not an XV 920. That's an XV 550.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's a weird bike, man. That's a crazy weird bike. I would not want to order anything for it. I started looking at, the parts places to see what is and isn't available. Yeah.
And I just saw another one for like $600, but it says the gas tank is trashed.
Right.
The inside.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to suggest that bike probably has special bulbs. Like everything in that thing is going to be fucking weird because bikes from the early 80s, electricity was weird for them. They, electrical problems in an early 80s bike can really fuck you over. And then you get into, at least on that bike, it has factory Mikunis. So it runs a Mikuni carb, not a replica of a Mikuni or a CV copy of a Mikuni, but it does run I believe it does run a vacuum-based carb on that machine. So yeah, it's going to be a weird bike. It's going to be a hard bike to own if anything's not perfect.
You know what was kind of interesting? Let me see if I can zoom in on this.
Yeah.
Let me bring this up.
The happy motor, though, I was looking at the numbers on the motor, and it's a real, they designed it to rev and designed it to make good horsepower.
I wonder why they only made it for 2 years.
I don't know.
Headlight.
Let me know if you guys notice anything interesting about the bottom of the forks. Check this out.
Probably has look at that. Ain't that funny?
That's weird, right?
That's got a little bit of a trailing axle.
Yeah.
That's a sneaky way to change the way the bike handles.
And that's an 83, I think, because it's got the dual discs.
Yeah, it does.
But I've never seen that on a motorcycle. Any other bike?
Yeah, it changes the way the bike turns in. So it's a way to give the bike a steeper steering head angle and make the bike handle quicker, even though you've got things in the way like that radiator.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas most bikes would traditionally, you'd flip those around and you'd see the front axle in front of the base of the forks. That is very unusual to see that slightly behind them like that.
Yeah.
Those motors look like it's got faux ABS too.
Oh, yeah.
Does it?
With the big holes in it to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, you're going to get points for being a weird bike because I can tell you I've never seen one in my life. I've never seen one out in the world. I've seen all of its stable mates. I've seen all of the Seikas and everything else.
Right.
But I've never seen that particular bike out in the wild and been aware of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of a weird bike, man.
And the frame too. When you look at the frame on the motor, it comes down into the middle of the motor.
Yeah, the frame carries through the middle of the motor. It doesn't go under the motor.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Just in case anybody wants to see it. Check out the frame rails. It's really kind of
The frame rails go through the middle of the motor. Yep. And the motor hangs down below it.
So, Steve, is there a picture of the 82 with the fairing?
I don't know. We can say, hold on.
Yeah, that's a weird bike. Yeah. And it's not the only Vision that Yamaha made. I mean, there were other Visions. That one is particular. Yeah, there you go.
No, that's not one. That's not it.
There were several revisions of the Vision.
Right,
that's the
right here.
Yeah, that's closer. There's a silver one.
Go down to the silver one. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks like the one I was looking at.
It definitely looks better with the fairing on it.
Yeah, that's a good looking.
The fairing on it saves that bike. Without the fairing on it, not so great.
With the fairing, it almost looks like it belongs in some sort of 80s Stallone movie or something.
It does. It looks like
he's going
to be a Bond bike.
Yep.
Yeah, like he's going to jump a semi-truck shooting a grenade launcher or something on it.
Yeah, you're right. Like Delta Force or some shit.
Yeah.
Mega Force, yeah. That definitely has the look of a
Cobra.
Cobra,
And it kind of hides the radiator.
Yeah, but you know what? If you stuck a fucking cylinder right here, you could tell that was a BMW as well, though. From the
they definitely didn't really originate their fairing design. Like that fairing design is not trying to be that cutting edge. No. Of course, they did manage to keep that stupid fucking square headlight in there, even though they put that really cool, sexy fairing on it. But yeah, it's a weird bike. So weird.
I like the tank, though. The tank is pretty sick.
I like the tank, too. I think the tank, well, as long as there's the fairing on it, the tank looks good. If you take the fairing off, the tank starts to look like the curves and the squares had a fight and nobody could win.
This is called keep a stiff upper lip.
That is called cheap. We could put an expensive piece of glass on there.
But that whole styling looks like the original Katana.
Yeah. Oh, no, there's definitely that definitely the hinting of the Katana there. I like the vents on the fairing to allow the ambient heat from the liquid cooled motor to keep your knees warm.
Right.
But yeah. Oh, of course, 85 mile an hour speedometer because, the 80.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So that's the single disc brake.
But it still has that fucked up thing.
Well, it's not so much fucked up. It's mostly just a way to make that bike turn in real quick.
Right, but it seems like
it looks weird. It bothers your eye.
Something, yeah, I know. It's just weird.
Yeah, you don't see it a lot. But yeah, I mean that's cool. There's nothing about that bike that doesn't scream movie prop. I think I totally agree. Yep. I'm surprised it doesn't have a neon orange stripe on it somewhere. It looks like you could park that next to a CX-650 Turbo, and they'd have a lot to talk about.
You know what's kind of interesting though? I just got a picture of the swing arm, and even though it's shaft drive, it has like a what do you call the swing arms that are like multiple pieces like this? Like it looks like an.
You mean it may have some sort of allows for some movement in the swing arm so as to not get shaft jacking?
This is interesting. Like look,
I didn't see it straight on. That's all boring on that side.
See this up here? It has like
that's a monoshock setup.
It's a monoshock, yeah.
That's a monoshock.
Okay, so it just didn't expect that though. Like usually.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the 80s. They were monoshocking every damn thing. Yeah. Do you know what's cheaper than two shocks?
One.
You got it. That's it.
That was interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Weird bike, man.
Yeah.
Fucking totally weird machine.
Yeah, I saw that and started researching it, and I went down like 3 or 4 other rabbit holes, and it was. By the time I went back and looked for the bike, it was gone.
If you buy that bike, you have to get a set of 1980s one-piece German leathers.
Oh, yeah. Like square circles.
Yes.
All down the sleeves and everything.
Like a silver set of leathers with one blue diagonal stripe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you need for that bike. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. That's the right way to show up at the bar on that thing. And some very tall silver boots.
Yes.
Yeah. That would be proper.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a weird, ugly bike, but it's got something going for it. You were talking about, can you name the most beautiful bike ever with a square headlight? And I was thinking I couldn't do it. I am having trouble. I cannot come up with a good looking motorcycle that had a square headlight. Especially on the.
You named the best looking one was the CX-650 Turbo.
Yeah. I mean, literally,
that's a good-looking bike.
Did that bike have a square headlight, or did it have an actual rifle fairing that had a lens, like a real aerodynamic lens on it?
Okay, look at it. Look at the Honda VT500E.
Yeah. Yeah, pull that up. I think John and I have been through our share of VT500s. I don't think anybody should ever have to do as many VT500s as we've done. Yep. You got it. It might as well be a Yamaha Seika.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly that Yamaha and this bike were drinking out of the same bowl.
It's kind of sexy in a weird space age kind of way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't care for that particular shape of gas tank where it's like at a very steep upward sloping angle.
Yeah.
The ascot looked way better.
Okay, how about the Moto Guzzi V65 TT 1985?
Yep, same generation, same disease. Yep.
That dude?
That's the Dakar, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's yeah. Okay, there you go. There's the Baja. Yeah. Yeah, the Baja had a very long wheelbase, like an unusually long wheelbase.
It looks like the image is stretched.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's different from what I was looking at.
Yeah. If you go scroll down, you'll see the street version that has the smaller front wheel. I think
so. That's the headlight on the CX650 Turbo.
What about it? Oh yeah, there it is. So yeah, that is sexy. See, there's the 650 Turbo does not have a square headlight.
Where?
When I say square headlight, I mean actually has a car headlight.
Oh, John,
on a motorcycle.
John, put that back up. I didn't see it.
A car square headlight. Because
hold on.
It's just one of the ultimate sins. You take a perfectly good motorcycle and put a freaking car headlight on it.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's square, but it's lensed.
It's got a lens on it. It's got a replaceable bulb in it and everything else. When I talk about a square headlight, I mean you could go take it out of your 78 Lincoln, put it into your motorcycle, you know?
Especially the small ones. The small square headlights were the worst.
No, because if you look at the Suzuki GS 1100 or GS 850, there were years where the headlight had its own house. Like they had a big giant square car headlight, and it lived in a box.
Oh yeah, no, it's the 83. I think is where they came into play. Because I have an 80 and an 82, and they're both cool. But the 83 is when I went to square. Hold on, let me see if I can find one here. Uh-oh, Phil's dead. He's gone.
Did we lose Phil?
The 82 GS 1100E had a round headlight. I think 83 or maybe, no, it was the other way. It was 81 had the square headlight.
No, dude, 83. 83 was the first year of the
That square headlight on those big GSs was just, and it wasn't little, it was fucking huge.
Well, even like this 83 here, which is not the one that I was thinking of. Hold on, let me get the thing up here. I was thinking of more traditional one. But this one is fucking weird looking when you look at it. Like they shouldn't have had that. That shouldn't
exactly. Like this is just and the original Katana, year one Katana is guilty of it too. At least the Katana had the weird aerodynamic underbite,
right,
where the fairing went under the headlight. But it's very weird looking. You have something aerodynamic, and then you have this giant fucking headlight sticking up, creating an air dam, like a big wall. And the rest of the motorcycle is aerodynamic, but you got an 8-inch tall headlight that's just square and flat.
But even worse than that, and I can't find one right now, but around the same time, they took like one of my 80 or 82, but they added the square headlight. They added this like tiny little surround, or like just enough plastic to hold the car headlight in place.
Yeah.
And it's terrible.
And Honda did that. Honda had the headlight off center. They had a square headlight, but then they had a horn right next to it off center. So they were like, oh, this is going to be cool. We're going to have a headlight here, and the horn will be like next to it and lower. So
my CB1, the first thing that guy did was took that fucking fairing off with the square headlight.
Yes,
yeah, there you go.
This was the fucking worst. Look at that.
I'm going to tell you, the only thing, that is just so painfully huge.
Yeah.
When you see one in captivity, It's the largest square headlight I've ever seen. It's straight like from a Peterbilt. Yeah.
It is. It's
not even a car headlight. It's a giant sealed beam. And they weigh like 9 pounds.
So the thing is weird to me though is that so both of my bikes resemble that bike, but the only thing they changed was the square headlight compared to the round, and it doesn't fit any other aspect of the bike.
You can't get. It's very hard for me to get past the square headlight. So podcast listeners, please fucking comment and tell us a bike that had a beautiful square, an SAE car headlight, not square in the shape of a square, but like all
no Ducatis allowed, because you can't pull up the Ducati like SP 800 or whatever that fucking bike was, because it was still ugly. So that doesn't count.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's a hard sin to get past.
Right.
And if you're a motorcycle designer and you come up with some cool, beautiful design for your motorcycle, and the guys over in the marketing department or the bill paying department tell you it has to have a square fucking headlight, says we're going to save money. That sucks, man.
Was there, let me ask you guys this and ask your knowledge. Was there ever how the late 80s, 90s sport bikes had 2 round headlights in the front? Was there ever a bike that had 2 square headlights next to each other?
Ooh. God, I hope not.
Yeah, no shit. I know there were some aftermarket fairings that had way too many lights on them.
Right. But
I don't know about square side by side.
Because the round side by side, that's sought after. Like that gives a certain look at. I mean, my heartstrings pull when I see 2 round headlights on a sport bike. You
take an old GSXR and do 2 side by sides. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's your standard VT. I mean, there's your 500 right there with a square headlight. And that doesn't make it look better. Like, yeah, I get it. You got square turn signals, you got square headlight, your gauges are square with circles in the middle. That's ridiculous. The fact that you have a square gauge, but then in the middle of the gauge, you've got a circle gauge, like, come on, man. Like that stuff. I mean, yeah, squares worked okay on Yugos. Squares worked okay on Dodge Omnis. Squares worked okay on a lot of stuff that was like really ultimately square and boxy. And on my Moto Compo, everything on the Moto Compo was a square, except for the wheels.
Well, it's interesting too how like companies, so like Suzuki, right? 1980, my 1980 GS 850, everything's round. The reflectors on the back are round.
Everything's round.
The turn signals are round. Everything. My 82.
Yeah.
The reflectors are square. The turn signals are square, but this headlight is still round. 83. Everything's square and ugly as fuck.
That early 1982 apparently was when they decided that the future was here and the future was going to be square.
Yeah. Well, my 81 Suzuki is square.
Yeah.
Headlight. Oh, really?
And that GS 450 was one of those bikes that it was unabashedly square.
When it was a stunner, though.
That was the owner.
Chicks really dug that bike.
The owner's pretty square too.
Yeah. With a lot of rough edges.
Square? So square.
What about an Interceptor?
Yeah, and that was another one. Boy, that's a good example of that's everything that you can do to make that work. And that really is. I think that might be the winner. I think that might be the bike that somehow pulled it off. I think that might be it. I can't think of a better looking bike than the Interceptor with square headlight.
Yeah, that's probably it. You're right.
Yeah.
Here, I'll find that one. What year?
And they eventually fixed that and got rid of the square headlight, but they
just search 1983 Honda motorcycle and you'll get every.
No, you're right. That was it.
There wasn't a square. There wasn't a round headlight to be found in the world in 1983.
No, but you're right. This bike is dope looking, man.
I think that's as good. I think that might be the high water mark. I mean, and they're good bikes too. I mean,
oh yeah, that is a great bike.
They're such good bikes. They're just such nice bikes. The 500 is magical too. Like there's nothing bad about the 500. The 500's magic. They really are. It's a shame, it's a shame the carburetors can be such a nightmare and the valve lubrication can be a problem, but they are just wonderful bikes to ride.
And also the 15-inch front wheel or whatever.
Yeah, that was weird. The 15-inch front wheel still looks stupid today.
I mean, look at this right here. That's great.
The bike is always going downhill.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. They did that so the bike would turn in better,
Right.
So, reduce that gyroscopic mass.
But if you wanted to see a bike that you could give away for $5 like 6 years ago, and now they're starting to get 25 to $3,000 for them, is this bike. If you have a decent one of these, they're going up in value, man.
Bring it on.
No, I'm saying the one.
Oh, you mean the Interceptors?
Yeah, the Interceptors.
Oh,
man.
yeah, but the problem is what it costs you to take an Interceptor from a non-running, been sitting for 10 years as Interceptor into a running well Interceptor is $2,000.
Right.
So if the bike is worth $0, by the time it's running, it's worth $2,000.
Right.
There's no such thing as an easy waking up. Like, look, I got a 700cc Super Magna sitting in my garage right now, and it has not fucking fired a piston in 25 years, right? So that's a V4 that hasn't fired a shot in anger in 25 years. I don't even want to think about bringing that bike back from the dead. I'm not going to touch it. It's going to leave here in the back of somebody's pickup truck, and it'll probably be on its side, as much as I hate to say it, because it's a Super Magna. But I don't want to do that job. I have no desire to do a V4.
Right.
Yeah. So it's tough. And we've done enough of them, man. Those Interceptors, they're terrible hard to work on the carbs. It's just a terrible place to be. And then, God forbid, if you have to do the cams, like if you have to do the valves. Right. Like doing the valves and doing the carbs on an Interceptor, that's young man's work,
Yeah, I have no desire to ever own one of those.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, they're fun as hell to ride.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I mean, I'll ride somebody else's.
That's true. Yeah.
That's how I feel about the Africa Twin.
And you're doing real well with that too.
Hey, Chris, how far do you have to reach up to adjust the valves on Uranus?
Up to the elbow.
Of course he's got a push rod for his anus.
I have a feeling I've missed a whole lot of anus jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's only 2 of them that were funny.
Look at Dustin.
That's okay, Dustin. We'll go over all of them again.
Lay them all back to you.
The best one, the absolute number one best joke is Chris bought a Janus.
I've one of our friends down in Sev, so our friend down in South Carolina, Sev has a Janus in his shop. So somebody traded one in, and it's not the hardtail one like Chris's. It's like more of the 60 style one, whatever that would be. But I think they're selling it for like $3,000. So for somebody who does want a Janus, you can get in touch with Sev. Because he does have Sev has a very cheap Janus.
Slightly used.
Slightly used. Yeah.
Lightly used.
It's very easy for you to have his Janus.
Oh, that's so bad. What I will say, but for people who do want to if they do want to find out more about it, I'll give you guys the information for Sev's shop. You can get in touch with Sev, and if I'm not mistaken, God, I'm trying to remember the name of his shop. It's one of those ones I haven't been there, so I'm not on top of it. Give me a second. I swear to God, I'll conjure it up here shortly. And I know that they're looking for somebody right now too. They're looking for a salesperson at his shop. So that's a thing too. And it's not in Cleveland. So it's probably warm there right now. So that's real. Team Power Sports of Raleigh. So yeah, so he's in Raleigh.
Yeah.
So he's in Raleigh. And it's Team Power Sports. And I know for a fact they have a Janus there. So, yeah. And you can ask Sev to see his Janus.
Nice.
Now, it is different, though, because Sev does have a black Janus.
Oh.
I've seen it. He showed me a picture of it. So he sent me a picture of his black Janus. So yeah, that's available. So that's cool.
What color is Chris Smith's Janus?
What's that?
What color is Chris Smith's Janus?
Genghis green.
Ooh, I'd get that looked at.
He's got a rather olive drab Janus.
Chris, it's a 4-stroke, right?
Yes, it is. It is a 4-stroke. Yeah.
and most of the leather surrounding the green parts looks a bit worked over, so it's kind of interesting.
The Janus down there and at Team Power Sports, that's their Phoenix, which is their cafe bike.
Oh, the Phoenix Janus.
Yeah, and you know what? So it's their build number 2002, which is
really
kind of cool. Yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
So that's a Janus that's arisen from the fire. That's a that would be a flaming Janus.
Yeah, they're a Griffin, maybe. I don't know.
The Phoenix. Phoenix is
the Phoenix, right? Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, 3150. He's asking.
Yeah. Well, Chris's Janus has had a bunch of Amish. Has been handled by a bunch of Amish people.
So
they got their Amish leather work all over Chris's Janus. That Phoenix, yeah, that's what it was. It's a Phoenix for sure, black colored one.
Yes, it is. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's theirs, and that's Team Power Sports has got a black Phoenix Janus for sale. Cool, very cool. If you want one, if you want to join a member of the Janus Society,
I may have to go down and get that one too.
Yeah, I mean, look, anybody would be impressed by a guy with 2 Januses.
Well, that would be that actually would be Jane I.
I am a man with 2 Januses.
Twice the work.
Is that a V or parallel configuration?
Yes. Well, that's the thing. Doesn't matter. You can only ride one Janus at a time. So that's no matter how many you have.
It's in line. That way you never shit yourself.
Well, but he can make the decision whether he wants to have a
centipede Januses.
He could have a rigid Janus or he could have a soft tail Janus.
I have a new contender.
Yes.
For the ugliest bike ever after our conversation.
Okay, I'm ready.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Are you guys all familiar with Aprilia?
Way too Aprilia. Way too familiar with Aprilia.
They made this.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
What?
So this is the 6.5. So the 6.5, it's the opposite of the square headlight. There is not a single straight line anywhere on this motorcycle.
No.
Yeah. So this was a mid-90s triumph of design. The 6.5. So
it's a beaut.
Even the radiator is curved. I wouldn't be surprised if the forks were shaped like bananas. But yeah, this bike is all curves.
I almost like it in a strange, Pacific Coast kind of way.
I do too. I'm gonna say I don't hate it as bad as I should because I applaud them for it is extraordinarily organic.
It looks like progressive commercials would have a porpoise on top of this being a porpoise car or something like that.
And it's also that sort of mid-90s things where they do 9 versions of the same color. So it's all just different textures. That gas tank feels like something. It's not just shiny.
And the whole time, Chris Smith was just looking at this girl over here. So congratulations. Well done. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, the Aprilia 6.5 would definitely be one of those ones that's just I know that you were trying for artistic.
Yeah.
And you just went too far. Yeah. I don't think they sold many of those at all because, come on, it was 1995. You could have bought any other motorcycle and that wasn't an Aprilia,
Right.
So
it looks designed by the illustrator Mobius.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's seriously, that bike should not actually curve like a normal bike. That bike should be hinged in the middle or something. Yeah. Yeah. Very curvy, very European, very
Fifth Element.
Yeah.
The movie Fifth Element.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's rubber, the orange rubber holy vest or whatever she was wearing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That could have been a prop vehicle in there, and you just would have had to make the gasoline motor sound go away.
Multi-pass.
Multi-pass.
It's the Aprilia Multipass. Oh, that's cool. Well, nobody's got anything else?
I don't think so.
All right.
All for me.
That's cool, man. Dustin, thank you so much for coming on.
No, it was great to come back. My first virtual podcast.
Yeah, this is as close as we're going to get.
Yeah.
Unless we all agree to just meet up in the middle of the woods.
And burn something.
Just literally, yes. Yeah, that's how we meet all the nicest fire people, is we just burn a building that Steve owns. Yep. Yeah, we got to meet 3 different fire departments. Yeah, it was great.
But nobody was arrested.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked about that. So I'm happy. I'm thrilled. But again,
Ian, were there full beer bottles next to you and Merritt?
Yeah. Yeah.
2 weeks later?
Yeah, so like this was just we were just there the other day. So we were there on Sunday. And so we were there on Sunday and all those beers were there. The IPAs and the Rolling Rocks were there. And I was like, oh, okay, great. So I picked up one of the Rolling Rocks and I cracked it and no gases came out of it because it's been -20 several days. So those beers have been frozen and thawed and frozen and thawed and frozen and thawed so many times. So I took it. It was terrible, undrinkable. But the IPAs were in a can, right? So I was like, oh, well, those IPAs are probably still okay. No, the cans were squishy.
Oh,
They frozen.
There was no leak. Like the cans were still solid. They weren't leaking. But when you cracked it, no fizz. So, yeah. So
yeah, anything under 8% is going to freeze.
Yeah. Oh, it had definitely frozen. At the moment we were there, it wasn't frozen, but I gave it a sip and threw it the fuck out. I wanted nothing to do with it. Yeah. But it was funny they were still there because in my neighborhood, that would have been gone instantly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So does anyone want to go riding this weekend?
Yes, all of that.
I'm going snowboarding at Holiday Valley for the next 3 days.
Oh, all right. Well, you do.
Next time you see me, I'll be in a cast.
Where are you planning on riding, Nick?
Who am I kidding? None of my bikes run.
I'm going to say, if we got someplace indoors to ride.
I know the code for that big barn. We can get back into that big barn. But honestly, it was funny in that barn. I went upstairs and there were actually motorcycle tracks on the floor, like on the dance floor. So somebody had managed to get a bike up there and do some circles, some burnouts, do some figure eights on the dance floor.
Well done.
It's only stairs, so they had to be bold. Yeah. That's it.
All right.
Well, cool, man. Anybody got anything else?
okay.
I think
That's it.
Looks like Dustin, play us out of here. Ride fast and take chances.
Da, 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 da,